Let's go over this again. 50 cars, 50 drivers. 3 classes, 1 champion each. Racing in a variety of race formats and locations. Braving the constantly changing conditions and competition. All for a shot at the fame and glory of being the champion. Welcome to HSR Motorsport GT3 series. Is it easy racing against these guys? I don't think so. Indecision can cause chaos on the racetrack, while confidence can result in perfection. Drivers will push each other to the limits and beyond. The champion rises through the ranks to take the ultimate glory. Battles will be fought, won and lost. As drivers fight on tracks all across the globe. There will be fear, pain and loss. There will be courage, pride and triumph. Mistakes will be made, and their consequences could be dire. Precision and skill can only be noticed in the very best. This is racing. This is what we love and do. question is, what will you do? Hello and welcome to the HSR Motorsport GT3 Season 4 Championship. Today you join us for round 8 here at Valencia. However, this is no regular race. This is the final race of the season. Round 8 of 8, the season finale. And what a track for such an occasion. This 4-kilometre long circuit is located 24 kilometres outside Valencia and is composed of fast to mid-speed corners as well as a long main straight, allowing our drivers plenty of opportunities for overtaking. Last time we were here, it was Season 3, Round 1. We started off last season here at Valencia, and the race results are up for well, they're available on my screen here. So, Craig Hewlett won here last time round, P1 for the Pro class, and P2 was Peters, and P3 Chris Chard. So a bit of background for each of those drivers. Craig, he'd been having a rubbish season before. This was the first time he got a race win. So it was brilliant. It was great. He had the pace season 2, but just didn't get the consistency down. But finally, he started off the season well with a race win under his belt. Rest of the season, unfortunately, did not go so well for him, so we ignore that. Peters got P2, and he was actually in the Pro-Am class and then got promoted to the Pro class. So that was one of our drivers that went from a certain class to another one. Class switching, class trading, I don't know what the official term is. I don't believe there is any official term for it. So call it what you will. Then, of course, Chris Chard, the Black Ninja, the silent killer, and his black McLaren, unfortunately, was unable to join us this season. But hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll be back next season. Then our Pro-Am winners from last time round were Verbrew, Jordan and Jackson. Again, some very familiar names. Verbrew was the Pro-Am legend. He was the Pro-Am driver to beat last season, but unfortunately got pipped to it by Jackson in the last couple rounds. And of course, Jackson, that familiar name, he won our Pro-Am championship last season, Season 3 champion. Now, Jordan, however, is a name that we first heard here at Valencia. It was the first time we heard him, and now he's up there mixing it with the pros right up at the top, as in right at the top, and I'll explain in just a couple of moments why. Then our AM winners from last time round are Matthews, Davies and Worth, and unfortunately they are not as well known. This was pretty much a one-time thing for them, so hopefully we'll see more of them in the future, but they are not currently part of the grid. So, for those of you joining us for the first time, and even the veterans, let's go through the schedule for tonight. We've got 45 minutes of practice, followed by 20 minutes of split qualifying, and then 1.5 hours of racing. Oh, yeah, I thought you might get away with just an hour. No, this is the season finale. It's a special race. An hour and a half of racing, 19 minutes, with a mandatory pit stop, only for refueling, so tyres are optional, not mandatory, and the refueling has a fixed time. It's a fixed time refueling, so it just means that no matter how much fuel you pour into the tank, you will be spending exactly the same amount of time in the pit box. So whether you're pouring 1 litre or 120 litres, it's 25 seconds in the pit box, and if you want to swap out your tyres, that comes in addition to it, so that adds 5 seconds on. A tyre switch, or a tyre change, as it is more commonly known, a tyre change is 30 seconds, and so of course if you opt to change tyres, you can do the refueling and the tyres at the same time. It just means that as opposed to your 25 seconds of fixed refueling time, you get 5 seconds added on. So it's not too much, but at the same time, if you're going head-to-head with a rival and you are both pretty good at your tyre wear, why pit for tyres? Just refuel and get back out there. And of course, there is the damage that you can obtain to both the bodywork and the suspension. So that, of course, can up your time, whether you choose to fix it or not. Again, you lose time by doing them. However, if it's severe damage or damage in a particular area, obviously fixing that could be the key to staying on pace or actually even getting faster over the course of the race. So it's all down to you and your strategical decisions. Now, of course, it being the final race of the season, standings hold quite an important they hold quite an important role in today's race. Unfortunately, however, for our Pro and Pro-Am class, up at the top, it's not really too important, but we'll save the drama at the end. It means that tonight I can go all out when we finish the race and just say this is our Pro and Pro-Am champion. But I'll spoil it for you. Obviously, Topinka in the Pro class is our Pro class champion already, 145 points as opposed to Marcy, who's in P2. His point score is only 84 points. So it is mathematically impossible for Marcy to win the championship. So already guaranteed for Topinka, but we'll celebrate that at the end of the race so we can go nuts, because there's quite an important milestone to be had here by the Czech driver. Then, of course, as we heard, Marcy P2 with 84 points. Jordan P3, that familiar name, who got a podium here last time round. Jordan is on 83 points, so P3 in the Pro class. So within a season already, within a season, basically 2 seasons, he's already improved up to the top of the Pro class as well. So it's brilliant just to see his progress. Then in P4 is going to be Rebecci with 81 points, and P5 is Limburgs with 78. And then P6, Peters with 72 points. So those are the closest drivers. P2 through P6, Marcy, Jordan, Rebecci, all separated by only 3 points between Rebecci and Marcy, and then 6 points between Limburgs and Peters. But again, also only 3 points between Rebecci and Limburgs. So the final couple podium positions for the Pro class is all still up for grabs. Then in the Pro-Am class, again, we have our champion already decided, Manchip with 156 points, and Taylor is P2 with 115. So again, just not mathematically possible for Taylor to catch up to Manchip within the course of this evening. In P3 then is Fox with 93 points. So also not quite, it has to be Fox winning the race and Taylor not getting any points for Fox to win here. So it is also a very big ask for Fox if he wants to take P2. However, Pfeiffer is P4 with 87 points, so only 6 points difference between Fox and Pfeiffer. However, as we've seen, the drivers up at the top of the podium don't like to share those steps, so it could potentially just stay in the same order, maybe with the gaps closing up slightly, and then it's a much larger gap down to Puller in P5 with 61 points, and then Simmons P6 with 57. So those gaps are a bit closer. Janssen is P7 with 56, and Novell is P8 with 54 points, then Van Lagen with 50. So it is somewhat close further down the grid on the Pro-Am class. Unfortunately, just not as close up at the top. However, I'm sure Puller, who's been putting in a lot of great showings and performances later on in the season, I'm sure he'll be pulling... again, Puller will be pulling some brilliant performances today. However, the AM class, as always, never fails to disappoint in terms of tension and competitiveness and just how close the gap is between the championship leaders. Rucroft, currently our championship leader with 120 points. Pennell, P2 with 120 points. Hang on, they are in a tie. Yes, we are drawing, ladies and gents, heading into the final race of the season, so the tension could not be higher between Rucroft, who is in an Aston Martin, and Pennell, who is in a BMW. Down to P2 is obviously Pinel 120, but P3 is Huben with 103 points. So again, it's not quite a great chance for Huben to make up a position unless Rucroft or Pinel retire and he gets at least P2. Then down in P4 we have Craddock with 83 points. Again, just such a large gap, it's not possible. Conti P5 with 70 points. Again, it's further down the grid, it's closer, but up at the top, other than Rucroft and Pinel, it's quite spread out. Lewin 62 points, Malott 40 points, Ozduru 37 points, Tyler 36 points, and Christoph 32 points. Christoph, with a late season comeback, has been putting in some decent performances, and it comes as a complete shock to us. He's been racing with us for about three or 4 seasons. I think it was 4 seasons, and he's always been, unfortunately, the guy at the back of the pack, just always getting in people's way. But now he's been putting in some great performances. He's been really aware of his surroundings recently, which has just been such a great, it's just been so great for our drivers. They've just really appreciated that. So yeah, good job from Christoph, 32 points, and he's not too far off the next driver up, who is Tyler, 36 points. So, you know, could there be potential for a position change here for Christoph? I don't know. But that are our standings. That probably sounds better if I say that is our standings for tonight, heading into the final race of the season. So just as a recap, really the battles to watch out for is P2 and P3 in the Pro class, concerning Marcy, Jordan, Rebecci, Limburgs and Peters. So that's P2 down to P6. And then in the Pro-Ams, it's the battle between Simmons, Janssen, Novell and Van Lagen, the 2 DSRT Porsches, which I'm sure will manage to mess up yet again, and P3 actually there as well, between Fox and Pfeiffer. And then in the AM class, of course, it is going to be the championship P1 position, championship win at stake here. 120 points each between Rucroft and Pinel. And then further down the grid, it's more between Ozduru, Tyler, Malott and Christoph. Not in that order. Malott is ahead, 40 points. And then it's Ozduru, 37, Tyler, 36, Christoph, 32. So there is still plenty that can happen tonight and plenty of battles to keep an eye on. And of course, then there's just the usual race mess. There's the usual... Sorry, I shouldn't be saying mess, because it's usually quite fun as well. It's a fun mess. So it's a fun chaos. So yeah, it's just going to be the usual race chaos and race fun that we need to keep an eye on as well. So we have, can you believe it, been talking for more than 15 minutes now, which is a complete shocker to me. I thought this introduction was only going to last about 5 minutes when I planned it, so yeah, I'm saying I'm quite happy with that. But yeah, let's get straight into it. We will start looking at the drivers who have turned up today. First up on our list is going to be Jackson, who is running in P4 on the leaderboard to your left at the moment. Now, one disclaimer I will say is going to be concerning the leaderboard, and that particularly during practice. Unfortunately, you can't really rely on those during practice, because there are varying strategies when it comes to preparing for the race and qualifying within practice. Some drivers might be preparing for their race pace. They're preparing their race setups. Others will be trying new setups. Yet more will be trying to learn the track and hopefully manage to master the track and get some decent braking points before qualifying starts. Another group might just be here for usual practice. They just smack on their race setup and they just try and improve their times. Get used to the conditions, get used to their competitors around them, get used to the car maybe even. If, for example, you were Dixon, who I don't think is here yet, but he's been joining us for the last 2 rounds, just out of the blue, in a Mustang. So for him, it's quite a new atmosphere as well. And then, of course, you get the other side of the coin where drivers will be trying to optimize their qualifying setups, trying to go as fast as possible by optimizing their setup, which will probably put on a little more toe on the front, be a little more aggressive on those tyres. And that means, of course, it's not quite sustainable throughout the race, not quite feasible. So there's a lot of speculation that goes on during practice. Yes, Topinka is at the top, but Marcy down in P7 at the moment on the leaderboards. He might have just got a rubbish lap in. 2.4 seconds off. Is it 2.4? No, it's 1.6 seconds off. My math, apologies. It doesn't work well late on a Friday evening. Obviously, 1.6 seconds is a massive gap. Not quite what we've seen recently between Marcy and Topinka. Boom, there's your first thing that shows, oh, we can't actually quite trust it. And there are a couple of new names on here, and I always do this, I say couple, one name that is new here. However, it is a, I don't know how to say it, it's a complex, it's a paradox. It's not new, but we haven't seen it for a while. That's a much better way to put it. Hosco, currently in P2 in the BMW, joined us for the first two races of the season, but unfortunately due to personal circumstances has been unable to race at all for the rest of the season up until today. And can you believe it, he is still allowed to race. So yeah, that is brilliant. Hosco currently, I just need to count how far down he is now, that's just how far he's gone. Hosco currently in P12 with a podium under his belt with 29 points. So yeah, he's got a lot of work to do. The next driver up is going to be Jackson, who's 7 points up, so it'll be a bit of a tricky one for Hosco, but it's nice that he can join us once again. Maybe, you know, just put on a great fight for the race lead, for the final couple podium positions. Who knows? Who knows? We've had some brilliant battles recently between Topinka and Marcy. The Red Bull Ring is where it all kicked off. Marcy starting in P1, but unfortunately after a rough race start, he just could not keep Topinka behind when Topinka eventually caught up. And that was actually the first race Topinka hadn't started from pole position. He started down in P4, and unfortunately for Marcy, Topinka, the great racing driver that he is, managed to make up 2 positions up to P2 and then into the classic turn 3. Came around the outside actually and just laid down the hammer on the exit over the hill, and into turn 4 he was just ahead. So that was the moment when Marcy unfortunately did lose the race. Later on though, the last lap he was only 0.2 seconds off Topinka heading into the final couple corners. And whoa, a sliding moment for Jordan as he pulls over now. But yeah, as I was saying, Marcy, he was only 0.2 seconds off. It could have potentially overtaken Topinka into the penultimate corner if it hadn't been for his little trip into the gravel trap. And it was only a touch. He only touched it with his right side. I don't know whether it was right front or right rear. Doesn't really matter. He touched the gravel, and that unfortunately put him off pace, of course. But the story of the season is, of course, last race, round 7 at the Nürburgring, where Marcy finally beat Topinka. Topinka, for the first time in HSR Motorsport broadcasting history, did not cross the line first and managed to hold on to the race win. He actually, yeah, it was the first race he did not win a race in which he competed. So yeah, Marcy broke the curse. It's not really a curse. Marcy broke the spell, let's put it that way. It wasn't malicious, it was just Topinka is that guy to beat. Oh, hello Limburgs and Christoph coming together at turn 3. What was that? Slightly upsetting. And as we were talking of Marcy, here he is in the Aston Martin running his usual colours for the season. And who knows, maybe next season he'll change it up to red, or yellow. Who knows? It's always the small variations that you put on these small variations each week, and then it eventually just culminates into this beautiful livery right at the end. We've seen that actually with Roocroft, who is out here today, just not on the track yet. Roocroft in the Aston Martin last season was where we saw the culmination of 3 seasons of livery making, where each season he just started with those same colours, those same livery patterns from the last race, and he just added one thing at a time, and then eventually he added one massive rebrand, and that just sealed the deal. It just made it so much better. So, I mean, I'm not saying his livery at the moment isn't great. It's nice and simple. It's got the usual colours that you associate with Roocroft, but he has yet to add some more detail to that. We'll ask him a little later, in fact, because in about 5 minutes or so, we'll be having an interview with the man himself. So that's something to look forward to. You can ask for an ETA. But before we see if we can have a look at some of the liveries, let's go on board for a circuit guide. And for this, we've got a helpful camera mounted on the bonnet, and also a very helpful little acceleration thingy to your right, so you can see all the inputs and the speed and the gears and the delta to the top, but don't worry about that. So here we go, down the main straight. We've got turn 1 coming up, fast left-hander, just a little tap on the brakes, or a more hefty tap on the brakes, maybe a little heave on the brakes through the left-hander, run it out wide into turn 2 Doohan, just the long left-hander, bring it down, and then use the camber through to the curb on the right. Again, cut the curb as much as you can on the left, bring your car all the way over to that same side of the track, through Nico to roll now, turn 4 and turn 5. So it's a lot of double right-handers, double left-handers. And again, just bring your car all the way over to the right for Nieto, turn 6 through the left-hander. Again, very similar. You just keep going as far into the corner as possible, as close to the apex as possible, through the kink at turn 7 now into Martinez. Turn 8, again, long right-hander, mid to fast, and then another left-hander. Turn 9 into turn 10, a little kink before you hit the harder braking zone of turn 11. So it's again the principles of double apexes and stuff like that. Then it's a short run down to turn 12, Herreros, another fast right-hander, get onto the curb, maybe come slightly wide through turn 13, setting yourself up for a straight line for braking into Adrian Campos, turn 14, out onto the main straight. And it's very important to be able to carry your speed, keep your speed up mid-corner, so you can carry it all out onto the main straight into turn 1. Now, I'm not sure we'll be able to get through many liveries before we have our little chat with Roocroft, but let's see what we can do. Topinka, currently our Pro Championship leader, of course, in the Lamborghini, and looks like he finally got his livery back up and running. Last race, it just dropped. We could only see a carbon body, so it's nice to see those familiar colours again. Rebecci P2, again, familiar colours. He's the Omega Motorsport Italia driver. Same livery for the past 4 seasons. This is a man who doesn't change his livery, but his on-track performance isn't too far off either. Then we've got Hosko, that name that hasn't been around for a while, but he's back now in the Repsol BMW. I remember seeing it for the first time round 2. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved it, and I still love it. It's great to see him back again. Peters P4 in that yellow and black BMW, also mid-season change, just suddenly dropped, and it looks brilliant. Then Jackson, of course, as we saw earlier, in the purple and yellow Ferrari. He's just going out on track in just a moment. We've got Lemberg's currently roaring round. Of course, again, Pro fight up in the top of the championship. Lemberg's currently 78 points in the Lamborghini. Again, green, white and red colours. We saw those for the first time over at Zolder. And that was just the race everyone suddenly decided, let's go green and red. It was as if we were in Italy. It's as if everyone just decided, hey, let's go Italian colours. Yeah, we were in Belgium, so not quite sure where that came from. Then, of course, we've got Jordan in the most common colour, of livery around the circuit, red, white and black. He's running the HSR Motorsport Esports team livery, so carrying a bit of pride there for all of us part of the server. And we've of course got Marcy and the Aston Martin, Osduru and an Aston Martin as well. And look at that. That is a new livery for Osduru as well. He's changed it up the last couple races, and now he's brought us a lovely grey lime/yellow livery. So I am digging it, sir. I like it. It'll be nice to see that thing in action. Then we've got Dutton in the Porsche, another pro, ripping it round in the usual blue camouflage. This changed around. Oh, I was just about to go into the same loop. It changed at around round 4. I can't believe I did that 3 times. Round 4 is where we saw this camouflage livery for the first time, and yeah, it's okay. It looks all right. Then of course we have Pinel in the usual. Oh, hello there. Fox has just gone round with another driver. Where has that happened? That is going to be at turn 6. That left-hander before we hit the left-hander kink. Oh my goodness, what happened there? Let's go for a quick rewind. So, Foxy coming out. Tyler down the inside. Oh my goodness! Fox just not seeing Tyler at all, and Tyler just assuming Fox, because he's slow, he's going to let him through. That's why assumptions are dangerous. And I'm assuming that's Tyler. Yes, that is Tyler. All I did was... oh, I just assumed that as well. I'm just as guilty. So that was Fox and Tyler going round. But before we continue down our path of livery walk-in, let's have our interview. And Tony Rucroft joins me in the commentary box yet again. Welcome, sir.
Evening, Yanis. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, and yourself, sir?
Yeah, good. Ready for this last round?
Oh, yeah. How about yourself?
Oh, yeah, we're getting there. Getting some practice in.
Good. So, we'll start with a fun question, and we've asked this question to every driver this season because it seems to be quite a theme for this season. Why did you pick the Aston Martin this season? Everyone's changing their cars. Why did you pick the Aston Martin this season?
Well, it's a funny one because I was looking at joining a GT4 race. It was just like an odd Wednesday that had a bit of a gap, and tested the Aston Martin GT4, and it was very, very stable, and I felt it suited my driving style a lot better than the McLaren did. And I thought, well, I'll give it a go on the GT3 just to see if I am quicker. And I was about the same as what I was in McLaren, but I felt it a lot easier to drive, and it's more of a forgiving car to drive. But not only that, I find it a bit more intuitive as well. When you go in for a corner, you know what it's going to do. Whereas the McLaren, I felt sometimes you could go into a corner, and because it has that issue where if you run a curb too much, it will just spit you off in the opposite direction backwards. It was kind of unnerving sometimes, where you felt, well, I can't really push as hard as I want to, because if I overrun it, it's gonna end my race, sort of thing. So I found myself being quite reserved. Whereas the Aston Martin, I feel you can just throw it in, and it'll either tap you on the shoulder and give you a bit of oversteer, saying that's probably not the best idea, or it'll grip and go around. It's quite forgiving, like I say, like that. It's suited me down to the ground really this season.
Brilliant. And I mean, we've heard that from drivers who've changed to the BMW as well. Yeah. I know Hosco, he was also similar scenario. He was driving the Ferrari, felt the rear was just a little too excited, swapped to the BMW, and he's suddenly only half a second off to Pinker. So having stable cars definitely does suit some driving styles.
Yeah, I mean, I feel my results have showed this season with what I've been producing through the races. You know, I've had a couple of podiums on the throughout this season, and hopefully we can clinch the title. But we'll just see what happens in the race. It's with the temperatures and the distance, anything could happen.
And I mean, I was just about to ask that. Stats-wise, you've got 6 podiums and 2 wins this season. It's the most you've ever had within a single season. I mean, were you expecting such a performance this season after switching?
If I'm honest, I started the season going, if I can just finish it in front of John Mellott this season, that'd be great, because I know I've been close to him in previous seasons, and it seemed to have escalated quite quickly from there, to be honest.
Yeah, it has.
No.
I mean, I was literally just listening back to that interview we had can you believe it? It was season 2, round 5 we had our last chat. It seems such a long time ago.
Yeah.
And even just then we were talking about Mellott, your competition with him, and then just looking at the results for both season 2 and season 3, you've just absolutely skyrocketed, particularly in this last season. Yeah,
like I said, I just feel a lot more comfortable driving this Aston. So much so I'm sticking with it for next season. So I won't be changing car. Like I said, I just feel comfortable driving it, and that's half the battle. And I'm sure any racing driver will agree. So on the sim level, where if you're comfortable, you're fast, and those two things go hand in hand. This car makes me feel comfortable, so like I said, I've managed to be able to push the boat out a bit with certainly the lap times and results. But above all, same rule as usual. Consistency is key. I'm not the fastest on the grid, but I am consistent. I always qualify with race fuel, race setup. That way, there's no surprises come the actual race.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite an unconventional kind of strategy when it comes to racing nowadays. Usually, when you have your quali, you might drop the fuel. You might only put in 5 laps worth. Maybe slap on some pad 4s rather than pad 2s or pad 1s, just to get the extra, just that little extra couple milliseconds at the end of the straight. And as it seems, it hasn't affected you too much. So, I'll have to give the strategy go at some point.
For certain people, I say, they do the whole qualifying setup. They go out, they bang in a really fast lap time, and that's great, fantastic. For me, I find that the car gives you an entirely different feel. Going through qualifying, I might be able to set a fast lap time, but I find it just upsets my sort of comfort and rhythm come the race, because everything feels different going into that first corner. And it just takes you a little while to get that edge back, if while you're getting used to the setup being different. So I tend to try and not mess around with it too much. If a car's understeering out, maybe tweak the feel of the front set suspension a bit, maybe, and the tyre pressures, they're all set to a certain pressure. But above that, really, as long as it feels right, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah, and it's a similar thing for me usually, except that I'm one of those guys that doesn't really care whether I'm comfortable with the car. I just push regardless. I end up spinning or killing myself anyways. But I'll have to give this strategy a go at some point as well.
Anything's worth a go once.
Absolutely. So how confident are you heading into today's race then?
I was quietly confident prior to the start of practice, and then just seeing where everyone's time stack up against mine. It's one of them. But then winning the championship is kind of a double-edged sword, because it is a promotion to Pro-Am. Do I think I'm going to be competitive in that sort of area? Possibly not, depending on obviously the circuit and conditions. But it's just one of those. Have to see how it goes. I think it'd be nice to win it. Like I say, hopefully I can be consistent enough. I'm going would aim for a one-stop pit, although obviously we know it's a 90-minute race and the temperatures are quite high. So it all depends on tyres. I'm fueled for a one-stop, but we'll just have to see how that plays out, really. But like I say, as we know, with any race, the first lap is key, and keeping it clean through there. We'll just have to see what happens, really. And like I say, it'd be nice to win it, but Riley is a very fast and competitive racer, and he is quite consistent as well. So anything could happen, I think, during this point.
Absolutely, and I mean, his strength recently has been the late season. This last roster of tracks, the last half of the season, has really been where he's shined a lot. Whereas you had the first 4 races or so to get up those points. So final race, I'm not quite sure what to expect. So,
I think it's going to be an interesting one. certainly for events on track. So I think you'll have lots of talking points, I would imagine. But we'll just have to see how things develop once the dust settles, everyone gets into that rhythm. I think we'll just have to see, because that's where pace counts, I suppose, and go from there, really.
Yeah, but as I'm always highlighting every race, it's not just about pace, it's not just about consistency, it's about the ratio between the two and how much of each you can have. Because you could have someone with tons of pace, but they can't string 2 laps together. They're great for quali, but come race, they're horrible over the whole course. Whereas if you're on the other side of the spectrum, if you're only consistent but you lack pace, you rely on extraordinary events. Yeah, you rely on other people's mistakes. Exactly.
Which I'm not going to lie, a lot of last race, that's that played hand in hand with the winner had last race. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't slow, but at the same time, I made a lot of places up through mistakes of other people or incidents, or I was quite fortunate to dodge a few of them. But in terms of outright pace and catching people, I would say that was a lesser percentage, should we say, than being good and avoiding incidents.
Yeah, and like you said, it was just it was so vividly highlighted last race. We had Topinka spin out. We've never seen that before. We've had Manchip slow down through the Schumacher curves. He ran out of fuel. He had to get pushed over the line. So like you said, it can really just change. It can vary a lot.
But to be fair, racing into the night like that was interesting. Definitely enjoyable. I like the variety of weather. You see, I'm not one of these racers that will just sit and play and race just in the sunshine. It's great for learning tracks and learning your braking points and how to go around the circuit, but for actual interest in developments of things happening, I like the variety of weather. I like the changes in time, the track temperatures, the actuality of the racing aspect, because no race day is sunny every day.
Absolutely.
Got to be real as possible is how I like it.
And I mean, there's also, for me, it's quite similar. There's one part of me that just wants to race only when the weather's nice and the tracks are nice, because I want to learn the track. But then on the other side, it is lots of fun, and you learn actually more when you're racing on a wet track, when you're racing in the dark, when you're racing a combo of the two.
Definitely.
You just learn so many more skills, and I think that is the emphasis of the GT3 Championship as a whole. That's why they keep bringing in these weather changes, is to spice things up, to make drivers learn. And we've definitely seen tons of drivers improve over the course of even just 2 seasons. We were just talking about Jordan, who last time we were around here took a podium in the Pro-Am class. Now he's up in the Pro class and he's challenging for P2.
See, I was partnered with Mickey Jordan in the one of the endurance races we did. He's a really good racer. Like I said, the guy's fast, but he's also very consistent. He's got a smart head on him. So in terms of strategy planning, looking at how he overtakes, he's very sensible. He's very switched on. He's every right to be in that pro category, and I do expect to see him excel quite quickly up the ranks in terms of the championship standings within the pro category. And like I say, next time I get a chance to do an endurance event, I wouldn't mind being his partner again. And there are a few other people as well, I'd say the same.
Yeah, absolutely. But I see we only have 2 minutes left in practice. We'll finish off with one final question. What is going to be the key to winning at Valencia today?
Key for me, key is going to be temperature management. Certainly on those tyres, it's going to be very easy to push too hard too early on. Overheat them and certainly increase that wear too early on in the race, especially if people, like most people, probably going for a one stop. You've got to make it to the one stop. You've got to manage those tyres. Other than that, it's going to be just keep your nose clean, really, and like I said, just try and get settled into that rhythm as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Well, that concludes our interview. Thank you for joining me once again in the commentary box. It's been great
Anytime,
chatting.
Yannick.
I'll leave you to it.
Thank you very much. Speak soon.
So Rucroft, one of our AM class championship contenders, currently on 120 points, right in a draw with Penel, our other AM class championship contender. So that battle between Penel and Rucroft will be something to keep an eye on. Now, of course, we only have 1 minute left, so we'll have to speedrun. Oh, Jordan sliding through the the right-hander of Herreros, turn 12. That was quite interesting to watch. So let's go through a couple of the liveries again before qualifying starts. We've got Redhead in the blue Mercedes there. He's quite a recent addition to the grid. We've got Curtis in the Mustang. Ooh, going all gold, Curtis. I like it. It's looking good. He's usually in a, again, very similar livery to the HSR Motorsport esports team and DSRT and Omega Motorsport Italia, but now he's gone for an all gold livery, so I like it. It's looking new. And we've got Taylor in the McLaren, and he's running the same livery he did last week, grey, blue and black, originally his racing colours. So great to see him go back to his roots for these final couple races. Then we've got Huben in the GTR, no change to his livery. Huben P3 in the AMS, and then we've got Alfred. Ooh, hello there, Alfred, switching it up with a yellow and black livery in the Porsche, looking good. Then we've got Fox in his usual BMW livery. We've got Malott in a Red Bull livery. So I think Red Bull Ring was 2 rounds before, so not sure whether you missed that, but you know, welcome nonetheless. It looks epic. Then we do have Rucroft in the Aston Martin hiding behind that BMW. However, we have run out of time because split qualifying is about to begin, and if you don't know what that is, it basically means the first 10 minutes is going to be for the Pro-Ams and the AMs. They are going to have 10 minutes to set their fastest laps, and then for the last 10 minutes the pros get their lap times in. So it just means there's less traffic on the circuit, so we'll have to cut the cameras for just a moment once qualifying starts, or once practice ends to be more precise, and then we'll cut straight back to the action. So don't go anywhere, don't get your snacks yet. And here we go, qualifying about to start. Give us just a moment. And here we go, qualifying about to begin, and I thought I'd spice it up with a new overlay. So this is just a little more personal. This is where you can see a little more from the driver's perspective, a little more info on what the driver's doing at the moment. So you've got all the driver inputs on the right hand side, you've got session info right at the top of your screen, you've got the timing board on the left hand side. Once this driver puts in a lap, then you'll get some live deltas and be able to see how much they're improving by. So we'll see how this works. And then we've got a mini leaderboard on the left. So yeah, this might give you a little more insight into the qualifying session and what these guys are doing in particular. So I thought it would be fairly appropriate to have Rucroft come round the circuit first. Although I believe there are some software issues, so we could only demo this tonight. We'll have to go back to the previous overlay. But yeah, here we go. Rucroft starting off the qualifying session for the Pro-Ams and the AMs. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We have 3 classes at the moment racing for the final race of the season, fighting for those last couple points. And Rucroft is one of our championship contenders for the AM class. He is on 120 points alongside Pennell, who also has 120 points. And they are currently both leading the AM class championship. There's this massive fight potentially in the race. However, we've heard Rucroft isn't quite comfortable with the temperatures, not quite comfortable with the conditions. Pennell seemed fairly comfortable in practice, but as we've chatted about so many times before, practice is only speculation. You can only garner so much information from a practice session. Now, just to make it easier for you guys who are at home watching and might be wondering, oh, you mentioned classes, how do I know which is which? Well, it's easy. On the leaderboard on the left hand side of your screen, you've got the position first. We'll go from left to right for each name. You've got position, name, the manufacturer, then you've got the car number, their pit status, and then the time they've set in qualifying, which will change to the delta in the race, the delta to the next driver. And yeah, that green little square changes to an orange background with a white 1 in the foreground to say they have 1 pit stop to go. So I'll explain all that as well when it comes to it. And then it's the background of the car number which you need to pay attention to. So a white square means a pro driver, a grey square means a pro-AM driver, and a red square means an AM driver. So for split qualifying, the first 10 minutes, we've got the pro-AMs and the AMs out, which means it's the grey and the red squares going out for their first laps. And as you can see, we have 5 lap times on the board soon. We've got 4 confirmed at the moment. Up at the top is Pennell, provisional pole for him in the AM class, currently with a 132.7. Alfred, the only pro-am to set a lap time so far, with a 134.9, so a little slower. Then we've got Christoph, Malott and Rucroft setting their times, and oh my goodness, Christoph pulling out a great performance right at the start of qualifying. I know it's only the first 5 minutes, but should everyone fail to set valid lap times, which believe me is a valid issue at times, you know, he could be starting fairly well. So yeah, it's pretty good to see him out there putting in the effort. We've got Malott, P5, and then Rucroft, unfortunately the last of all the drivers, both Pro-Am and AM. And unfortunately it does look like his exit out onto the main straight has also been scuppered. He's still on a positive delta though, and he's moved up a position up to P5. However, Redhead now comes across the line. In the background there, that blue Mercedes to set his first lap time for the Pro-Ams. He takes provisional pole there. P1 Alfred improves, but not enough to take P1 for his class. So at the moment then, it's Redhead, then Alfred for the Pro-Ams, Pennell, Huben and Christoph for the AMs. Huben sneaking in his lap time there. And then we do have some of the drivers out on track at the moment. We've got Curtis, we've got Taylor, Ozduru, Tyler, Fox, Manship, Pirinen. So we've got a couple drivers there. We've got 24 drivers here today, but the majority of them seem to be pros and AMs. We've only got about 5 pro-AMs out there. So it's a little thin on the ground there. But now we've got the pro-am lap times pouring in. We've got Manship P3, overall P2 for his class. Taylor following not far behind P3. So they're just above Alfred. And Tyler comes across the line as well in P9. So does Jim Fox, the final Pro-Am driver. And we still do have a couple we do have a couple AMs yet to set a lap time with 3.5 minutes remaining, Curtis being one of them in the golden Mustang. We've also got Pirinen in the Ferrari he joined recently, and I have to say again, love the livery. It looks very professional, looking very clean. So Pirinen coming around the final corner now along with Curtis to set their first laps if they are valid. That's always a good point. Here comes Curtis, and he's up into P8 Pirinen, unfortunately, not a valid lap time yet. Ozduru is also a driver yet to set a valid lap time, and now I can see that livery in action, the lime grey, and I swear there is a darker grey in there, or it's like a very dark blue greenish, dark blue swamp. I don't know, it's a bit of an interesting colour, but it's fresh. It looks fresh as well, new, let me put it that way. I just keep getting these new words in. It looks new. So our Pro-Ams then are Redhead, Manship and Taylor for the top three. Top three for the Ams are Penel, Huben and Tyler, who just suddenly comes across the line in the Porsche. And that is the Porsche we saw earlier, who collided with Fox during practice. Looks like we do have some contact between drivers in the qualifying session, and more contact between drivers in the practice session as well. And you don't want to see that. You're not supposed to be racing or overtaking drivers during qualifying. So let's see, Tyler also on a positive delta heading into sector 3 now. So he's doing fairly well. And it's a new livery for the Porsche driver as well. Looking pretty good. Looking, again, new. Final race of the season, might as well just go all out, you know. So we've got Fox out at the moment, Rucraft, Christoph. Let's see, Christoph's still running the usual livery. And who else? Penel, Ozduru, Curtis. Yeah, we've pretty... Oh, Alfred was the one driver that we saw with a new livery, but unfortunately he just hasn't... He's just not out on track at the moment, so we'll see him maybe, potentially, a little later on, but I don't think he's got time to set a final lap time or two. We only have a minute or so remaining. This will be likely the penultimate lap as he comes across for Christoph. And where does Christoph come out? Christoph improves by a fairly large margin. However, he's not got enough there, and he has slowed down towards the end of the track. Manship takes P1 overall, and for the Pro-Ams, he's going on a big push. Redhead needs to defend his position, and Taylor is also not looking too shabby. Taylor currently improving as he heads through sector 2, running the home colours. It did work out quite well for him last race down the Nürburgring GP, and if it weren't for Manship running out of fuel, Taylor would have finished P3, but he finished P2, so he managed to close the gap to Manship slightly, but unfortunately just not enough to stand a chance at winning the Pro-Am Championship this season. But I'm sure he'll still be pushing as hard as he can to get a good result. Now we do have the last couple of drivers, Tyler, Fox, Malott, Christoph and Rucroft all in the pit, along with Penel and Alfred, so their lap times are fairly static. But here comes Taylor now around the final corner across the line. And Taylor with an improvement, just not enough to make a position. So that is pretty much the end of qualifying for Taylor as the pros start to come on now. So it is the end of qualifying for our Pro-Ams and Ams, our grey squares and our red squares, as Huben now comes around. He's currently P4 in the Am class. Ozduru pipped him just a couple laps ago. Here comes Huben though, back up into P2. He says, Ozduru, you ain't taking my place in P2. That is Huben up into P2 for his class, and he is the final driver other than Pirinen to come across the line. So Pirinen just coming over the line as the timer stops, so he'll be setting the final lap time through the last couple corners now, through turn 10 and then turn 11. And of course all the pros are out now, so those lap times are going to tumble really quickly. But as a quick summary for all the pros, Pro-Ams, we've got Manship, Redhead and Taylor, our top 3, and then for the Am class we've got Penel, Huben and Ozduru, but Pirinen of course still needs to set his lap. If he improves, if he sets a lap time, he might qualify above some of the guys lower down, or there could be potentially a pole lap. We have no idea, but here he comes across the line, and unfortunately again just not a valid lap time, so unfortunately he will not be qualifying this session, and I'm sure he has to come in now. I'm sure someone will tell him at some point, Just not sure who. So, Topinka leads the pack. Dutton, I think, is going to be a late driver, unless he's the one that's just started. Unless he's the one that's going to set his first lap time. Otherwise, it's Topinka. Let's see. Does Dutton or Topinka set the first lap time for the pros? It's going to be Topinka. Unless Topinka comes across and it's also not. So, could just be... I think this is just an out lap for everyone. So it could be that Dutton is the first driver to set a lap time this qualifying session, which is very unusual. Topinka's usually the first one out there. Let's see, across the line comes Topinka. Yeah, so Topinka is going to be the second driver to set a lap time. But here we go. It looks to be a little bit of an interesting... I'm a bit confused, really. It's, at the moment... Oh, no, memento. Sorry, my screen just went all weird. The interfacing system. So at the moment, Rebecci on pole. We've got the lap times pouring in now. We've got Rebecci on provisional pole, Hosko P2, Marcy P3, and Topinka has not managed to set his lap time. Ooh, there's a Lambo going slightly sideways as they head through turn 6. That was quite an interesting little angle to watch. But yeah, Rebecci, then Hosko, then Marcy, then Bugs and Jordan in P4 and P5. Then we've got Peters P7, Jackson P7. Sorry, apologies. My leaderboard skills aren't up to speed tonight. We'll have to work on those as we go through the evening. But Pirinen is still in and out. Pirinen is still racing, so I'm assuming he'll get a big penalty or just be disqualified from the session and then start from the back of the grid anyways. Unless he comes into the pits now, in which case that will be fine. But I suspect there will be I suspect there are words to be had. And Topinka now comes across the line to set his lap time. Hosko's not far behind, and he improves slightly, but just not enough. And it's 0.4 seconds between Topinka and Rebecci. Jordan sneaks into the top 3 now. In the other BMW, 0.450. Hosko's only 0.455 off of Topinka, so it's literally 5 thousandths between them, and then another 500ths between Rebecci and Jordan. So those two fighting for those positions. And looks like that is Hosko into the gravel. That's the end of his session. Here's Jackson though, and he's managed to set a faster time than Marcy or Lindbergh's so far. Lindbergh's is on an improvement though in the other Lambo, and that looked like a floating Ferrari slightly as he drove over the sunlit curb. Through the left-hander, turn 9, through the right-hander, turn 10 next, out into the curb, turn 11, that really sharp right-hander. We saw some great action there, some horrible action there as well last time round. Not really too many improvements. Lavagnos has failed to set a lap time, but he's just coming around the final couple sections now. Lavagnos has been a driver to watch out for as well. Unfortunately, he's just lacked the consistency of finishing up in the podium positions this season. And here he comes across the line now. Where does Lavagnos come out? Lavagnos up to P2, and he's only 2/10 of Lavagnos off of Topinka. Oh, you put in a lap so quick he made me speechless for a couple seconds. So Lavagnos P2. There's Jordan just putting off into the gravel. There's 3.5 minutes of qualifying remaining, so there's still plenty of time to improve. Topinka's invalidated his lap time, so he's just going to push and try get a normal lap time in. But Lavagnos then up to P2. Oh my goodness, that is interesting. And Dutton now coming through the final couple corners. His sector 2 time looked very good. Into turn 14 now through Campos. Let's see how his exit fares. Oh my goodness, and he just invalidates his lap on the final corner, and I'm sure that is a That's a frustration for him, and he knows it. He knows he messed up. Peters, however, has not invalidated his lap time yet. He's storming down the short straight between turns 11 and 12 through that fast right-hander onto the curbs, and he is pushing for a good lap time now through the long left-hander of turn 13 into Campos, turn 14 out onto the main straight. Where does Peters come out? He is currently P5. Does he improve enough to make a position or two? Yes, he does. One position. So that is Peters up into P4. And the battle for P3 has begun. Jordan on a 130.9. Peters a 131.0. Ribetti also on a 131.0. Hosko a 131.1. Lemberg's a 131.1. Marcy just improves a 131.1. Jackson a 131.3. So you can see just how close these guys are matched within the midfield for the Pro class. But it is the last minute or so of qualifying. They only have a couple more laps to go, so it's looking less and less likely for these drivers to make an improvement. The further on you go into the qualifying session, the less chance there is for improving. Now we do have some incidents to look at on the replay system, so I might get those up real quick. Let's see what happened here. Car 999 and car 343, that's Ozduru and Manchip. Let's have a look at this. Here's Manchip in the McLaren. Oh my goodness, on the exit, smashes into the rear of the Aston Martin Ozduru. Oh my goodness. That was a bit harrowing. Okay, here comes Peters across the line now. Peters takes P2, only 0.123 seconds off Topinka. He was pushing. That was his final lap time in. Lavinius is back out. Ribetti is also on a push. He's made up half a second almost in his second sector. Let's see how this next bit goes. Onto the main straight. Where does he come out? Across the line. Ribetti takes pole! Oh my goodness! And here it is, the lap time's tumbling in the final couple seconds of qualifying. Ribetti taking provisional pole. Topinka now has to start chasing Ribetti. It was Peters that got close after Lavagnos got close, and now it's Ribetti who finally beats them all. Marcy is also looking fairly strong through Sector 1. And Pirinen is still out there. How have they allowed Pirinen to stay out? It's the end of the session, so now the drivers have to come into the pits, and you know it's the end. They can't put in any more laps if they've gone through with their lap already. Basically, there's a cool-off timer. So if they've already completed the lap, they have to then come in. Even if they can still drive, doesn't mean they can still drive. It means they can drive. It's a bit interesting. But you get my point. It shouldn't be this way. So Hosko's locked in his time. P6 at 131.1. Both Ribetti and Topinka are still out there racing. Lavagnos also pushing. So car 2. Oh my goodness. Looks like Limburg's just come into the pits now. Car 16. That's going to be Ribetti coming across the line pushing. But unfortunately just not enough to improve. Topinka though improving over the line. Where will he come out? It's going to be close. It's going to be close. Does he retake pole? No, he doesn't. He's only 6/10 short, and that is the end of qualifying then. So now is your moment. Go grab those snacks. Go grab a drink, because this is going to be a long race. It might be worth going into the kitchen even and just sitting there with all the food around you, because it's an hour and a half's race. So just get a big stash. Get a big stash. That's all I'm saying. Or you might order a takeaway after the race start, because you don't want to miss any of the race start action. That's always good fun. But anyways, I'll leave you guys to it. Join us in just a couple moments for the final race of the season. And here we go, the final race of the season about to begin. We've got our small grid walk to do, so let's just fire through it. On the front row, we have Rebecci starting from the front, P1, then to Pinker, P2. On the second row, we've got Peters and Lavagnos, P3 and P4. Third row, we've got Jordan and Hosko in the BMWs. Then, down the rest of the grid, we've got Limburgs in the Lamborghini, Marcy in the Aston Martin, Jackson in the Ferrari, and then the Pro-Am start. Then we've got Manship in the McLaren and Dutton, the final Pro. Redhead continues the Pro-Ams, P2. Pennell starting the AMS, a good qualifying result for him. Can he turn it into a championship winning race? Let's see. We've got Taylor, P3 for the Pro-Ams, Huben, P2 for the AMS, and Osduru finishing off the AM podium. Then we've got Curtis, Alfred with the fresh livery, looking good, sir. And then we've got Tyler, Fox, Malott, Christoph, Rucroft, and Pirinen. And yeah, the man we chatted to just a couple minutes ago is unfortunately starting at the back of the grid. Our AM Championship contender, him and Pennell, who's that BMW that just gone past our championship rivals. There is 1 point separating these two. So as you can imagine, Rucroft is probably feeling very, very nervous. Very, very nervous. And Pennell is feeling the pressure. He needs to perform well and consistent today to take the championship win. That is what is at stake here. Let's just park this drone on the inside of the circuit. We'll let the stewards come and pick it up. So, story of qualifying. Rebecci on the last couple of laps topples Topinka off his throne yet again, and Topinka in P2. He hasn't fallen too far, so it is still within reach for him, but it's going to be a tight battle into turn 1. Then, of course, we've got Manship, as usual, leading the Pro-Ams. Redhead putting out a great performance. Redhead, a late season joiner, so he literally only joined us for the last 3 races of the season, and this might make him consider starting the season next, going from the start, season 5, racing from the beginning. Then in P3 is of course Taylor, who is P2 in the Pro-Am Championship, so again, decent performance from him. And Fox, P5, yeah, he's currently looking for a P3 finish, or he's currently looking at a P3 finish in the Pro-Am class. If he can keep it, if he can finish, what he needs is Taylor to crash and completely leave. But at the moment, Fox is pretty much assured of P3 if Taylor doesn't crash, and if Fox can win the race, then he's got that championship under his belt. Then of course we've got Pennell, P1 for both qualifying and in the championship. So he just needs to stay out there, keep it consistent, keep it clean, and he can come away from today with a championship title under his belt. Huben, P2 currently. He might be able to just catch up to Rucroft and potentially take P2 in the championship. He was pipped to P2 last season by Manship. And then of course Osduru, just a late joiner really, and he's just looking for that one race win. But here we go, the drivers now lining up in their 2 lines for the final time this season. Round 8 of the season 4 championship about to start. And 24 cars go roaring down to turn 1 for the final time this season to start an hour and a half of racing. And Rebecci has got that inside line. Topinka will be looking around the outside into turn 1, and he does! Topinka takes the race lead right from the get-go. Further down, we've got Jordan trying to make his way past Peters. A little further down, he's around the outside. Oh my goodness, and there's Limburgs going all the way around into the wall. And there is chaos now up here at the top of the grid. Peters got past Jordan. Now how about further down? There is Hosko making a move on Hamasi. There's a little bit of touch there, a little bit of argy-bargy, and he's still down the inside as they head through turn 5. Still side by side now into turn 6. That fast left-hander, but looks like Hosko has to go the long way around. Jackson not too far. And looks like everyone got through there roughly all right. Limburg's, of course, punted out the way right at the start. Anyone else we need to keep an eye out for? Not particularly. And looks like the grid has slightly settled. We've just had a position change, obviously, between Hosko and Marcy. And looks like the gap to the race leader has opened up somewhat. Malot is not far off Pirinen. Who else do we have? Oh my goodness, looks like someone just dropped a couple positions. There's Manchip. Here's Dutton now making his way past Jackson. This is for the Pro Class Championship. Dutton now down the inside into turn 1. Will he keep it there? Redhead in the background making a move as well, and Jackson just runs out completely wide. Comes the cover off. Manchip is in a completely different class, but there we go. Jackson has unfortunately lost 2 positions in the process of going through 2 corners, turns 1 and 2, but he's round the outside now into turn 4, and he's still there. He's still trying to defend from Manchip, and Redhead behind is also not too far off of Pennell. Now, of course, Pennell just needs to keep it clean because Osduru is right behind Redhead. So it's going to get a little spicy if Redhead manages to get past Pennell. But looks like the grid has finally started to settle down. It's literally 2 or 3 laps into the race, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of action to watch later on. But I'm astounded at how quickly Topinka managed to get past. There's Manchip going wide. Here's Redhead now round the outside into the right-hander for the race lead. They're still side by side as they go through turn 11. This is suddenly a battle for the race lead developing. Redhead now going round the outside of turn 12. It's going to be tight, but Manchip backs out, and that is Redhead into the lead for the Pro-Am class here at Valencia today. And he's going round the outside of Pennell as well, who is quite wisely choosing to stay down the inside. And there's Osduru with a massive send on Manchip. What is happening? Manchip is just toppling down the grid. Here is Taylor now looking for a position as well. He's right up behind him. He's got that slipstream. Not quite close enough for a move, but Pennell ahead is also having to try and defend. But there's Redhead just getting past as well. Brilliant move from Redhead past Pennell now for a couple positions. And there is Elford trying to defend from Huben. And Limburg's also trying to make some progress up the field. This is now right in the mid-pack. We've got, oh my goodness, and that is Curtis. And Limburg's tangling yet again. And Curtis sent into the gravel of plenty to watch. And there's Pirinen just coming past. Pirinen absolutely flying up the grid, currently P4 after starting dead last. So it's worked out pretty well for him so far. Fox 0.2 seconds off of Huben, trying to make a position just to give him some security, or just to try and get past and make some positions in this final race, get those last couple points. And Huben has gone wide, a little bit slidey. The BMW now down the inside. Limburg's also there, almost 3 wide as they head into turn 10 and then turn 11. Limburg still down the inside, and Fox cannot do anything. He has to let the Pro pass. Oh my goodness, 3 drivers all battling for that single position. Great racing there. And then there's Curtis not far behind, trying to make a position on Pirinen, and Limburg's is just off of Huben as well, down the inside into turn 4. Easy move for the Pro, and he'll be trying to go on a massive recovery run for this race because he got tapped out right at the start. And no one has gone into the pits yet, which is a relief. Here's Huben now coming down the inside of turn 1. He's fighting back, and Limburg has to concede the position to the GTR. Fox also potentially his nose down the inside into turn 2. Not quite there. He had his nose there, but not quite close enough. Curtis down the inside of Pirinen in turn 2, and looks like he's got that move done as well. Pirinen going wide on the exit and conceding that position. Now the gap to keep an eye out on is going to be Dutton and Jackson in P8 and P9. And I was just looking at the gap between Malott and Taylor, Malott and Rucroft as well. That's also about 0.3, 0.4 seconds. And Pennell just conceded a position to Taylor. Now back down the inside into turn 10. Not quite. Let's see what happened here just a couple of seconds ago. So here's Pinnell into the left-hander. And under the exit, Taylor just has a massive run through the kink. Turn 7 into turn 8. Massive dive bomb from Taylor, and he gets it stopped. Stunning overtake from the driver in the McLaren. Wow, what a move. And through all that racing, Pinnell has dropped to P2 in the AM class, so he's steadily being filtered down by these drivers in the higher class. And of course, if he gets filtered down far enough, that might bring Rucroft into the play, but Rucroft is a significant distance down, a significant distance away from Pinnell for him to be any threat at this point. So there's still lots that can happen tonight. There is still plenty that could go down, and we saw that particularly at the Nürburgring last week, and Pinnell pushing regardless. He's pushing as much as he can. You can see the little slide there. But Rucroft now up behind Christoph, and Malott not far behind. Rucroft is going to be looking for an easy position on Christoph, but of course Christoph, with his good qualifying position, will not be giving up that position so easily. Rucroft also has Malott to worry about. Tyler not too far behind too. So this is a four-way battle for P21. Here we go, Malott down the inside of Rucroft. Oh my goodness, and they touch, and Malott goes straight on into the gravel, and Malott has probably completely totaled his car. Has he hit the barriers though, is my main question. Doesn't look like it, but his right indicator is on, which is quite odd. And we just see Christoph going wide at turn 11 now, down into turn 12. Rucroft is having a look, but he's not quite close enough, and that will impede his exit. And Pirinen suddenly drops. Pirinen now on the side of the road coming out. What's happened to him as he hit the wall? Oh my goodness, and that Ferrari is looking a little lopsided, like it might have had a little too many drinks already. You're only supposed to celebrate the end of the season after the final race, sir. Let's see what happened to this guy just a couple seconds ago. Ah, we just catch it too late. So yeah, I suspect he's probably under braking, just maybe turned in just a little too quickly, and then just put it straight into the barrier right next to that corner, and that is his race then, unfortunately, ruined pretty much. Now, a gap to keep an eye on is going to be Lavagnos on Jordan for P4, and Jordan is not too far of Peters for P3. So again, these popular names up at the top of the Pro Class Championship, all close together. But here's Limburg's flying up the field once more, down the inside of Alfred, down into turn 4. There's a little touch there, but not too malicious. Down into the final corner, and Alfred just concedes the position easily. So there we go. It's going up. Rucroft trying again to get past Christoph now into the final corner. He doesn't have Malott to interfere, but Malott's not far off behind. Tyler is just there. Ooh, Tyler getting quite close there. Under braking, looks like he actually got some decent braking into there. So let's see what the speed difference is like. We've got Rucroft that we are on board with right now, who is following Christoph, and he's trying to get a bit of slipstream, trying to make up some ground. Christoph, some fair pace tonight, and Rucroft goes slightly wide. He's got a little more speed into turn 2, and Christoph goes wide, leaves just a little window there for Rucroft to try and squeeze through, and Malott is not far off of Tyler as well, and a little bit of sliding. Here we go, inside, no, under braking. It seems as though Rucroft catches up fairly quickly, and then under throttle application, Christoph every time just manages to pull away. So it's great to see Christoph holding his own against these giants of the AM class. So then, as a little summary, while the action has a brief interlude. Oh, well, I say that, and both Tyler and Malott have gone wide, and Rucroft just ahead has also gone wide. So, again, just looked a little symmetrical, and here is Limburg's trying to make his way past Pennell as well. And Limburg's been putting in quite a lot of effort and been doing quite well in his efforts to get past these drivers lower down. And there's Pirinen just coming out of the pit lane, and he's come out at an awkward time. But here's Tyler now down the inside of Rucroft. Oh my goodness, down into turn 14, and oh yeah, it looked like Malott was trying to get involved. That's Rucroft wide. Here's Malott down the inside, and in the course of just one corner, Rucroft has lost 2 positions. So the man who is currently in a tie for the AM Class Championship is struggling. Here's Malott down the inside of Dutton into turn 1. Dutton has to back out. Rucroft gets back in there. Will he have his nose down the inside for turn 2? Yes, there it is. Under braking, he pulls ahead. Late braking there, dives for the apex, and that is Rucroft back up past Tyler. Now he just needs to get past Malott again, but this is all racing for P21 right at the bottom of the grid, and there's Pirinen going wide to allow these drivers through. Good awareness from the Ferrari. Now there's somewhat interfered. Malott now looking to make quick work of Christoph, and he does in the karate fashion and goes back for a second chop and a third one. Oh my goodness. Malott and Christoph colliding down at turn 11. Oh my goodness. That is not what you want to see. Turn 6, these two came together, and yeah, Malott went back for 2 more strikes. And looks like Alfred has just lost some time. Tyler also gaining some time on Rucroft. Looks like we have some competition here between Red. Oh my goodness, and Redhead has just gone round. Oh my goodness, watch out for the traffic. It's right on the exit curb. Here's Taylor, he comes by. Here's Limburg's. Oh my goodness, and Redhead just drops down. What has happened? We need a replay of that right now. So here we go. This is quite a while back. It's about 60 seconds. Because Redhead was right up behind Jackson just a couple seconds ago before this occurred. So here we go, through turn 13 now. We'll have the whole straight pretty much up until where we stopped. That's where we'll have it, which is going to be turn 1. So out on the exit, Redhead looks to have a fairly decent exit. And he's got some speed on Jackson. So could there be a collision here? Yeah, look at him closing that gap. Then down into turn 1, has a look. Jackson doesn't see it, and boom. Fortunately, Jackson isn't involved or spun out, and Ozduru, some great reflexes there. Just getting out the way. Just avoiding that collision. Oh my goodness. And then, of course, Redhead just topples down grid. Oh, what a mess. And we cut back just in time to see Limburg's trying to get past Taylor for P12. Limburg's rapidly closing on his brothers and sisters in the Pro Class. He moves out for an overtake into turn 1 under braking. Who's going to have it? Limburg's has priority in the corner. Taylor gives him the space, and Limburg's a stride up past him, but here's Redhead now looking for a position himself down the inside into turn 2, and Taylor has gone wide yet again, and Redhead retakes a position. Redhead retakes P2. So Redhead, despite that spin a couple seconds ago, almost a lap and a half ago, has come back and gotten past Taylor again. But unfortunately, he has lost the race lead. So that is a big bummer for him. And I've just seen Pirinen go into the pits yet again. And that is for a drive-through. And I assume that's potentially for the... because he didn't listen during the qualifying, maybe. But I'm not sure what that is for. We don't quite have notes telling us what it's for yet. We might find out later on. Stay tuned. Closest gap at the moment is going to be Jordan and Peters. These two in the Pro Class fighting for the final podium position. Peters occupying P3. Jordan looking for P3. So as it stands, Rebecci will be taking P2 in the Pro class, as he will be finishing a significant amount of points ahead of the other drivers. Marcy is 10.2 seconds off of Hosko. Marcy is nowhere to be seen. And as for Topinka, he's 2.6 seconds up the road from Rebecci. So despite the good qualifying lap time put in by the Italian driver, there's just nothing he can do to catch up again to Rebecci. However, we're only 17 minutes into the race. We still have an hour and 15 to go, an hour and 13 and a half to go. So yeah, there's still plenty that can happen, and we've seen plenty happen already in the first 20 minutes. And you might notice that, oh, it's got a little orange in the background. Oh my goodness, and Osduru loses a position to Limbergs now as well. So Osduru dropping back down the grid. Not sure what happened there, probably just went wide slightly. And he's got Redhead just behind him as well. And I'm sure Redhead will be looking to get past at some point now. Oh, Jordan is only 0.2 seconds off of Peters into turn 1, a move potentially. He's not quite got the gap, but here it is. Maybe a look, maybe a look. Peters is getting nervous. Jordan is putting on some pressure. They both managed to keep their lap times. Oh my goodness, Pirinen getting slightly in the way of Peters. And that has brought down the gap between them significantly as well. Lavagna's catching up now, only half a second off of Jordan, just ahead. 0.3 seconds between these two BMWs now. Peters ahead in the yellow car, and Jordan in the red car behind. Oh my goodness, and I'm seeing a car drop. Redhead into the pits. Could this be an early pit stop for him, or is it tragedy for him? Let's have a quick cut. We can't quite see what's happening on his car, so we don't know. All for the moment that we do know is that Peters is under a lot of pressure for that final podium position. And I suspect that drive-through is, yeah, that's to Alford, so not sure what Alford's done. Track limits, maybe. I thought that might have been the reason why Redhead's into the pits, but Redhead doesn't have a penalty yet. Lavagna seems to have a pretty good exit out of the corner. He's got some pretty good straight line speed, but as do the BMWs. In fact, Jordan has managed to gap Lavagna by the time they get to the end of the straight. And wow, they really are using all of the track on the exits of turn 1, aren't they? And Pinnell is only half a second off Taylor down in P14. That's one gap to keep an eye out for. Rucroft. Rucroft's conceded a position to Tyler, and coincidentally their car numbers are only one number apart. Tyler car 28, Rucroft car 27. So that's fairly funny. I'm just looking at the contacts list. Basically, I have a list of all the times that cars have collided, and I don't have as many as I'd expect within the first couple minutes. Here's Jordan now right up behind Lavagnos. Oh, and Rebecci's caught up to the back of Topinka as well, only 0.3 seconds there. So Topinka makes another mistake. Topinka, his first mistake of the evening, but not his first mistake of the season. He just needs to finish the race. He doesn't, he's got the championship in the bag, but of course, you want to add that race win to your name. And Alford now into the pits to serve his drive-through. And the order between these pros is still, and the time between these pros is still very consistent. 0.4 seconds between Jordan and Peters, 3.3 seconds between Lavagnos and Jordan. You can hear the Lambo there just ahead. It's great being able to see all of these drivers almost in one. There we go, all in one shot now. Our top 5 all in one shot. Hosko is 4 seconds down the road, and Marcy 11 seconds off of Hosko. So that gap is quite big there. Oh, and Peters decides to go defensive. This is where we start seeing the battles now. Jordan round the outside into turn 5. Can he keep it there? Yes, he can, but Lavagnos is looking for a position as well. Lavagnos now is there. He can't quite use all the track. Jordan has to start defending from Lavagnos now. That gives Peters some time to get ahead. Lavagnos with a good exit out to turn 6 through the kink. He's not far ahead enough to be able to hang on to the outside line. And we are pretty much back where we started. But Jordan now 0.7 seconds off of Peters. So I'm not sure whether they're just trying to work together to catch up to Rebecci. Because if they are, and this is the way they do it, it's not quite working as well. They've actually lost a second or two. It's now 4 seconds between Peters and Rebecci. Once more, the gap between Dutton and Jackson is only about half a second, and Dutton now actually just under a second off of Marcy down in P7, so there's potential there. Rebecci now 0.3 seconds off of Topinka. So the battle for the race lead overall and for the pro class is still very much on. And now I realise I didn't actually get around to saying why the sky is looking a bit orange, why the track is looking a bit darker than it did a couple minutes ago. It's because we started the race at 5 o'clock, I think? 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. Locals are, oh my goodness, and there's a car sitting stationary on the track. Is that Malott sitting on the side of the track in the gravel? Now is not the time for a picnic, sir. I know his indicator's still on as well. So, man, Malott now also into the pits. I hope it's not something, it's going to be something serious. I was going to say, I hope it's not something serious, but the only reason he would be into the pits is if it was something serious. So that is unfortunately Malott in the Honda. That Red Bull Honda unfortunately out of action at the moment. But there's a good race developing here between Marcy, Dutton, Jackson and Manchip now also half a second between each driver almost. Jordan is only 0.1 seconds off of Peters into the final corner. Oh my goodness, I don't know where to look. Jordan is now right up behind Peters on the exit. It seemed as though he got a little straighter line under the exit. He's only 0.2 seconds. He's got that slipstream. Where will it start kicking in though? Will he get ahead in turn 1? No, he's still behind. So that slipstream not quite working as well for him. Down into turn 3 though. That is Jordan's chance. Here we go down the inside for P3. Turn 2 P3, and that is now Jordan up into the final podium position. And now further down we've got Jackson right up behind Dutton, and Dutton afraid of what Jackson can do, goes wide through the mid corner, and that means his exit's flawed through the kink at turn 3, and Jackson has to hang on to that outside line but can't quite hang on to that position, and that is Jackson now back down. Dutton maintains the position, but Manchip is looking to increase his lead on Taylor, who is more than 15 seconds, I'd say, more than 15 seconds down the road, and Limburg's behind Manchip. So Manchip also knows that the pro is going to be coming past at some point. And wow, Limburg's been really working hard. Limburg's absolutely flying. There's Pirinen getting out the way of everybody. And Pirinen is in last place. However, Malott and Tyler are both in the pit. So I suspect Tyler will essentially make 2 positions there. Down to the final corner, and Peters is also, he's still staying within that 0.5 second slot, but here's Lavagnos now down round the outside into turn 2, and Peters now under threat from the McLaren as well. I was about to say Peters trying to remake that position on Jordan, but unfortunately he's got the McLaren behind to worry about as well, and Taylor just lost position to Pinnell. 0.2 seconds between them as they come down the main straight into class racing here. The gaps further up are not as large. So Taylor lost position there. Oh my goodness. But yeah, the closest racing remains up at the top. Peters 0.7 seconds, Ivano 0.4 seconds off of Peters. just looking up at the top, Rebecci is still 0.6 seconds. Oh, and Peters has had a rough exit into turn 12. Lavagnos keeps the pressure on, and that is Peters into the gravel, and Lavagnos has to swing out wide, but manages to keep it clean and take P4. Peters drops from P3 all the way down to P5 and just manages to squeeze past Christoph. And good awareness and just good clean driving from Christoph as well. Very predictable. That is what you want in a lapped driver. Jackson, oh, I cut away at just the wrong time because Peters had quite a good run on Lavagnos ahead. Over further down, Dutton is only 0.2 seconds clear of Jackson, and Rebecci's also quite close to the back of Topinka, so there's still plenty that can happen. Oh, and Dutton's gone wide. Is Jackson taking up the opportunity with both hands through turn 2? 0.3 seconds between the rest of the drivers now. They've dropped back slightly from Mars because they are too busy fighting each other. Further down the grid, we also have Rucroft only 0.3 seconds off of Fox. Again, interclass racing there, but potential for Rucroft to keep climbing that ladder, keep giving himself the best chance he can. Just keep putting in consistent laps, and there we go. Fox just got overtaken by Rucroft. I suspect it was a wide run. Oh my goodness, and there's Limburg spinning out again. No! Oh my goodness, we've got 2 incidents that's just occurred in the last couple seconds. Ah, man. So Limburg suffering bad luck yet again. Let's see what happened to Foxy just a couple moments ago. So here we go. Out to turn 11. Slightly dodgy exit. Rucroft, of course, looking to improve. Oh my goodness, and Fox just goes wide. Wide into turn 12, and then wide through the rest of the corner. That's now 0.1 seconds off Jackson. Not quite happy with his mistake from earlier. We didn't actually see what happened to him, but it looks like he wants that position back ASAP down into turn 2. There's a tiny little look there, just a little nudge, maybe, just a little look, a little peek down the inside. But it's still 0.3 seconds between them. And Curtis now down the inside of Taylor. Again, interclass racing, the Mustang on the McLaren down into turn 2, though Taylor has a little bit more momentum, but it's just not enough to retake that position, and Curtis moves up a position overall. However, in terms of his class, he still stays P3. He just has an extra driver now between himself and Huben, who is 8 seconds down the road. Rucroft is 33 seconds off of Huben in P4. So Rucroft really needs a miracle at this point if he wants to win the championship. Pinel, at the moment, looking like the favourite to win the Season 4 championship. 0.2 seconds all over. Rebecci right up behind Topinka. There's Rucroft and Fox battling yet again. Just in the background, Let's Go on top. And looks like Rucroft has just managed to stay ahead. But yeah, Fox wanting that position back, even though they are fighting interclass, even though they're not in the same class. They're still going to be fighting as hard as they can for security reasons. And when I mean security reasons, I just mean they have that extra driver behind them. They have that extra security from the driver in their class behind them. They have that extra car. That car needs to come past. Still 0.3 seconds between these guys, 0.4 seconds. And the time marches on. It's almost 6 o'clock local time. And the reason it's marching on so quickly is because there is a time multiplier on of ×3. And Taylor just heads into the pits. Is that his pit stop? I think so. Here's Limburg, 0.2 seconds off Manchip. We saw what happened a little earlier. Hopefully not a similar incident. This is close to where they had that occurrence down the inside into turn 8. Full send from the Lamborghini, and he takes no rubbish from Manchip this time. Straight up into P10. And Fox and Roocroft are almost side by side as they come into turn 1. Again, interclass racing between these two. Fox, the Pro-Am, trying to put the Am behind him, thinking he's got more pace. BMW can't quite get ahead though into turn 1. Looks like he has a little bit of damage to the front of his grille and his hood potentially. I'm not quite sure. Can't quite see as well. It just looks like it. But yeah, 0.3 seconds between Rebecci and Topinka as well. We've got these gaps between these drivers in all these different classes. Yeah, 0.2 seconds between Rebecci and Topinka. Jackson and Marcy have also got 0.2 seconds between them. In fact, Marcy has just gone wide, and there's Jackson opportunity down into turn 3, and Marcy drops a position. Jackson up into P7 in the blink of an eye. And now Marcy has also got to deal with Dutton not far behind. Dutton also putting Marcy under pressure, and Marcy unfortunately just not able to get up to speed this race, it seems. Dutton right up behind him as they head into the kink of turn 7. Now into Martinez, and it's not a full send. We've seen some brilliant overtakes here this evening. We've seen some absolute sends from these drivers down into that sharp left-hander. Whoa, and Dutton getting a little racy behind Marcy, trying to put Marcy under pressure, and I think there's a little tap between them there. There's nothing between them. You can't even slide a sheet of paper between them as they head through turn 13 now. They were right up behind each other heading into turn 12, and Jackson looks like he's going a little defensive into turn 14, so it could be a three-way battle into turn 1. Could we be 3 wide? Marcy is now only 0.1 seconds off of Jackson. Jackson decides to go defensive. Here's Marcy, he's got more speed down into turn 1. Here we go, and Marcy seems to be slightly ahead, but Jackson has that defensive line down into turn 1. They both just give each other enough space. Oh my goodness, and that's Jackson spun out by Marcy, and Dutton comes past Marcy as well. Oh my goodness. Oh no, that could not have worked out worse. It looked like they were giving each other so much space, and then Jackson, trying to get as much out of the track as possible, has fallen down to P10 yet again, and Limburgs just says, oh, cheers for the position. Limburgs, who's been working so hard on a recovery run, says, oh, there's my first pro, thank you. So Marcy then will probably, I'm not sure whether he'll be the one receiving the penalty or whether Jackson will. I'm not sure. I don't know whether there will be a penalty applied. Manship now pits. So some early pitting today. Alford is only 0.4 seconds off of Fox as they come out the final corner now, and Fox just peels off into the pits. Again, early pit stops for these drivers, trying to get some overcuts done. Undercuts, sorry, not overcuts. Overcuts is where you pit after the driver. You usually do that if you've got a massive performance advantage. And yeah, I mean, if you've got a ton of pro AMs ahead of you and you're a pro, then you might do it. Or if you've got a lot of AMs ahead of you, almost definitely. But Marcy is still racing. Marcy not giving Jackson back that position. I'm kind of torn. I don't know, because Marcy was on the inside. Jackson was trying to cover. No, it was Marcy around the outside. Jackson defending, and Jackson was coming over to the right-hand side. So not sure whether that was Jackson's fault. However, through turn 5, it was looking a bit sneaky there for Dutton, and Dutton under pressure from Marcy. He just seems a bit slow through those corners. Now through turn 7, and this is Marcy's opportunity down into turn 8, the almost undefendable corner from a huge send, and they're still side by side, but ultimately Dutton has to concede a position while these two have been fighting. Lembergs is back up there. Lembergs about to make a position on one of his own brothers and sisters up in the pro class. Can you believe it? This driver, who has spun out twice and has had to fight his way all the way through the grid, is finally coming back to fight for the top 10 positions as they go bouncing over the curb at turn 12. for a second there. It looked like Limburg was going full send down into turn 14. But of course you can't make those assumptions. However, 0.2 seconds between them. Dutton has got Limburg's right up behind him. He's not far back. So if Dutton and Marcy keep fighting, Limburg's will be more than happy to take advantage of the situation and treat himself. Both have gone wide. Dutton, a slightly straighter line, a slightly straighter exit. And there's Jackson in the background as well. Just hanging on. Fortunately, no major body damage for Jackson. I think it was just a spin. There was no collision with the wall, but we didn't see exactly where his car ended up. I'm looking at Lavagnos now, 0.4 seconds off Jordan. Lavagnos has been pulling out some pretty decent lap times, so he's looking obviously for another podium. It's been a long while since he's had one. And Jordan says, no way, Jose, I want this position because I'm fighting with Rebecci, who is only 2 points behind, and if Rebecci finishes ahead of me now, I'll lose P2. I mean, Jordan is still on the podium positions there, but it's still, yeah, it's close. Rebecci now only 0.2 seconds. Oh, and that difference in lines seemed like Topinka is under threat from Rebecci. Rebecci trying to make Topinka think, trying to force Topinka into yet another mistake. It seems as though Topinka consistently builds up a gap and then just loses it all of a sudden. Rebecci suddenly gains time inexplicably. And back down in P7, Marcy is once again under threat from Dutton. These three pros fighting for P7. And ahead of them, they have to make 17 seconds up to Hosko in P6. And then it's another 5 seconds to Peters in P5, and then another 3 seconds up to Lavagnos. So it's a long way from the podium for Limburgs. We might have an opportunity to look at some of the replays in a couple moments. It just seems like there's going to be something that happens in just a couple of moments. Dutton seems a bit... Dutton and Marcy seem a bit off, I think. There might be something happening there. Lavagnos, though, 0.0 seconds into turn 2, and there's the move from Lavagnos on Jordan for P3. Overall out for the Pro Class. Has got that move almost sealed. Jordan trying to hang on through the kink. Now down into turn 4, and under braking though, it is Lavagnos that gets past, and Lavagnos is now a podium racer. He is now up into P3 for round 8. Oh my goodness, and here's Limburgs. Dutton just went wide. So yeah, the curse works behind my back. The commentator's curses occurred while we weren't looking. But let's have a quick look at what happened here. And it is a while back, but you know, you got to get the whole context. Dutton in the Porsche, Limburgs in the Lamborghini behind. There's wide and onto the marbles. He went very wide there, didn't he? So yeah, that is unfortunately Dutton then losing ground on pretty much everyone. Oh, and there's Jackson. Jackson just got past as well, just a couple moments ago. So Dutton really feeling the Spanish heat and pressure, and he does not like it. Jordan does not like the pressure from Lavagnos either, or the fact that he got past him. So he's also looking for a position back. It's all the pros bringing the fight today. We've only got 4 Pro-Ams at the moment. Looks like Redhead unfortunately retired from the session. Redhead who qualified P2, Alpha now into the pit. So yeah, we only have 4 Pro-Ams racing at the moment, and they are the guys up at the top of their leaderboard. However, we have almost the entire pro grid racing now. 10 drivers from the Pro Grid, and then we have also quite a decent amount from the AM class. So let's go for a little recap as Limburgs chases down Marcy. We've got Topinka, Rebecci and Lavagnos, our top three for the Pro class, so fairly consistent there. We've got Ozduru, Penel and Curtis, our top three for the AMs. Again, some familiar names, drivers who are used to operating up there. And then for the Pro-Ams, we've got Manship, Taylor and Elford. And Elford has just pitted. He's losing ground to Christoph, but that is, again, just interclass racing. That's Christoph and AM coming past. It is a fairly long pit for Elford, though. He spent almost a minute in the pits. Time stopped, yeah, so there's been some damage to his car. 48 seconds in the pit box. Yeah, there's been some significant damage to Alfred's car. I'm just gonna say it, yeah. I don't know what's happened to Alfred. Are there collisions? Yes, there is a collision between him and car 80, which is going to be Fox. Let's have a quick look at this replay. Car 12 and car 80. Oh my goodness, spin. Oh, watch out. And straight into the path of the BMW. Oh, that must have hurt. So Elford spins out, and as he tries to recover, as he tries to pull out into the inside of the corner, Fox is there and he's like, "Hey, why are you here? I was going to go past you on the inside." Yeah, big impact for Alfred. So that's likely where all the damage came from. That explains it enough. That explains why Alfred was in the pits for so long. So now that the pit stop chaos begins, let's have a look at some of the collisions that we had right at the start of the session. This is one between Pirinen and Christoph, literally just as the race started. Down into turn one. There's Christoph down the inside. Oh my goodness, and that's what started a little bit of the chaos. Christoph being tapped on the outside by Pirinen as they were going through turn one. So just a little tap and that was enough to put him off course. And just keep an eye on Rebecci and Topinka once again, 0.3 seconds between them as they go through turn 6. It's close between these two. It's close. Topinka feeling a lot of pressure from Rebecci. He's felt a lot of that pressure before, so he's kind of used to it by now, especially over these last couple races. Let's just see whether that pressure stays consistent and is enough to maybe let Topinka crack, enough maybe to force Topinka into an error. Through turn 12. See anything happening here? No, not quite. So there's still 0.4 seconds between them. There is Topinka going for his pit stop. So Topinka going for an undercut. If this works well, he'll be a couple seconds ahead of Rebecci. Rebecci then just needs to push as well. So now the pit stop chaos starts. Now we're going to have a look at our replays, a replay session, if you will. This is the impact between Marcy and Limburgs right at the start. Again, let's go ahead and have a look at this. So turn 1 complete, down into turn 2. That's where all the chaos started, and that's what sent Limburgs off into the side of the racetrack. That is what started his entire recovery run. And now all the pros come into the pits. We've got Topinka, Lavagnos, Hosko, Peters, Marcy, Dutton, all into the pits. And it is that time. It is literally halfway into the race. 45 minutes have elapsed and 45 minutes remain in the race. So it is prime time to pit for your fuel. As we said, it's a mandatory pit stop for fuel, and tyres are optional. Now there is another contact between Rewcroft, which is this car, and Malott. Also right at the start. Again, it's replay time. Let's go back in time again. So here we go. Close up, Rewcroft. Down the inside of Malott. Just a little tap. Yeah, not too much there. Not too bad. And now the cars come out of the pits. Lavagnos, Peters and Hosko, as well as Topinka, have come out of the pits, and Lavagnos is still... Lavagnos has actually dropped behind Jordan, but I suspect that is because Jordan didn't pit. Let me check before I just say that. I know Jordan has pitted, and it's identical times between them. So, yeah, something must have happened as they were heading into or out of the pits. Here's Topinka just getting past Asduru now. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. So Lavagnos wants to make up that gap to Jordan again. He wants to get past him yet again. So now the question is, when does Rebecci pit? And how well does this pit stop go? Because as far as I'm concerned, Topinka had the perfect stop. So did Jordan, Lavagnos and Peters. As well as Dutton, actually. Dutton, Manship, Pinnell also had an ideal stop. So yeah, plenty happening. 0.6 seconds between Dutton and Manship. Manship in the McLaren, half a second off the Porsche head. And Dutton seems to be struggling tonight slightly. And Manship has once again laid eyes on the Porsche head. 0.3 seconds target locked. Let's see how this concludes at the end of the straight. Half a second between them. Jordan 0.3 seconds off Curtis up in P3. It's quite interesting to have that. Here's Rebecci now. Rebecci's just pitted. So, yeah, let's see how this then goes. Half a second between Dutton and Manship. Half a second between Manship and Marcy. And there's also half a second between Jackson and Dutton. So this battle in the midfield is still very much alive. 4 cars still battling there. Lavagnos about to get past Curtis as well, up in P4. So Curtis at the moment is just losing time. He needs to pit as soon as he possibly can. And here's Lavagnos making the move down in turn 14. Just a little skip down. And there we go. Rebecci's just come out of the pits, and he's just within 2 seconds of Topinka. So Topinka managed to get a little bit of time between them. He's done some good work. It was a good strategy call pitting that early. That undercut worked. So now Rebecci can't rely on the slipstream anymore. Oh my goodness, and that is Christoph getting in the way. Marcy right up behind Manship now. Oh my goodness, Christoph out of nowhere just holding these guys up, and there's Marcy, a move down the inside into turn 14, and that little incident with Christoph has allowed Marcy past up into P11, and Jackson just ducks into the pits now. Oh my goodness, looks like Jackson has had a rough run tonight. So at the moment, we don't quite have all the pit stop chaos done yet. And the reason Jackson is going into the pits is potentially for that drive-through. Oh my goodness, that is bad luck. That is horrible luck. Yeah, and there he is, just coming out behind Asduru. So probably for track limits or for contact. I'm thinking of potentially the Marcy Jackson incident. We'll see, maybe. But let's see if we can get some more contact now. We did see something between Marcy and Hosko right at the start. Let's have a look at this. So there's the BMW down the inside of Marcy and the Aston Martin. Just a little tap. Oh, and they just managed to keep control of their cars. Curtis has just conceded a position to Peters. It's still half a second now between Dutton and Marcy, so it looks like Manship dropped back just a little bit. And the gap between Topinka and Rebecci has opened up to about 3 seconds. So yeah, that gap stays consistent as well, but we've seen how much it can fluctuate, how much it has the potential to fluctuate. There's Fox in the foreground, just coming out of the pits now as well. Looks like Ozduru just received a drive-through. Ozdu P3 in the AM class. And he just ducks into the pits immediately to serve it. So once all the pit stop chaos has died down, we can then have a look at our current standings with championships-wise and race-wise, and how the race-wise standings affect the championship standings. Oh my goodness, and there's Fox allowing the two pros of Dutton and Marcy through so they can continue the battle through turn 8 now. Dutton having a slightly narrower exit line. Marcy looks a bit racy behind the Porsche. Mid-corner, that Aston Martin seems to be fairly potent. Curtis now finally decides to do his pit stop. It'll be interesting to see where Curtis comes out, whether he manages to stay in P1 or whether he drops all the way past Pinel. I can imagine he drops past Pinel. I think Curtis will just be able to hold on to P2. So 0.6 seconds between Dutton and Marcy. We can dive down again, back in time. This is the collision between Malott and Fox right at the start of the race yet again. So here's Limburgs. There's, just a little tap from behind, and that's just boosted Fox forward. So that was a collision on pretty much lap 2 or so. I'm actually surprised at how clean the first lap was. Lap 1, turn 1 is usually absolute chaos, but tonight it's been lovely. We only had Marcy and Limburgs kill each other. Well, we had Marcy kill Limburgs. Well, I'm not sure. Again, I'm not a steward, so I can't quite decide that. But Limburgs got launched out of the pack. Fortunately, he didn't take out anyone with him. Oh my goodness, and there's Marcy going for an adventurous move down the inside into turn 8. Again, just the dive from him, and now he's gotten ahead into the kink for turn 10 and 11, and that is Marcy up into P8. Wow, what an opportunistic move. Wow, I was distracted. Let's have a little look at that. Again, that was an epic overtake. So 30 seconds. Here's Marcy. Jordan, massive dive once again down the inside, and Dutton just left him that bit of space. Marcy said, oh, that looks like a me-shaped space. I'm going to take it and stick it down the inside. Have the kink, have the other kink, and there we go. Through by the time they hit turn 12. So then, we can have a little review of the grid. We've got Topinka in P1 for the Pro Class, Rebecci P2, Jordan P3. So those two championship contenders for P2 are in quite a battle. They were in, well, unfortunately there's not quite a battle between them. There's 10 seconds between them. So at the moment then, it is going to be Rebecci who takes P2. Marcy is unfortunately struggling quite a lot. So the gap between Marcy and Jordan is going to be quite important. Jordan will finish P3. He'll get 15 points. And Marcy will get, let's see, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4 points, I believe. So, yeah, at this point in time, Marcy is going to be losing P2, and it will be Rebecci and then Jordan. So at the moment then it's Topinka, then Rebecci, and then Jordan, pretty much as they are in the race. That is going to be the championship standings at the end of this evening, if it stays the same for the last 35 minutes of the race. But there is obviously still plenty to happen. All the piss-off chaos might cause further chaos. Then in the Pro-Am class, of course, we have Manship currently leading the race with Taylor P2 and Fox P4, and he's just pitted. Alfred P3, and I'm not sure why Fox has pitted again. It's a drive-through, that's why. It helps if you read. It helps if you keep an eye out. Helps if you understand these things. So it looks like Fox. Yeah, Fox will be staying in P3 for a championship at the moment. Unfortunately, he just can't. He just doesn't have enough. And Alfred, yet again in the pits, and yeah, it looks like he is retired from the session. An unfortunate result for him. It was really, yeah, that just sucks. That just sucks. He would have been able to make a position in Warburton. I think he will make a position in Warburton, because Warburton isn't here tonight. Neither is Van Lagen or Pinell. So who knows? Maybe there is some points to be had. Maybe not. We'll have to see. And then, of course, in the AM Class Championship, where the championship contenders are so close to each other heading into this race, it is currently Pinell leading the class with Curtis P2 and Ozduru P3. So those are our podium finishers for this race. And Rucroft, our championship contender, is unfortunately down in P5 compared to the P1 to Pinell. So at this point, the only way that Rucroft can win and the only way that Pinell can lose is if Pinell has a huge crash or spins out majorly and just keeps stumbling down the grid, because it is a big 1 minute gap between Hubin and Rucroft, and then 4 seconds between Hubin and Ozduru, 10 seconds between Ozduru and Curtis. So yeah, unfortunately Rucroft might have put, it's not quite, it wouldn't be quite a commentator's curse, would it? Because he was I mean, he was in the commentary box. Would that qualify, do you think? Him saying, yeah, he's struggling at the track. Could that be the commentator's commentator's curse, the interviewee in the commentator box curse? I don't know what you'd want to call it. But yeah, unfortunately, just Rucroft not performing tonight. So yeah, the chances of winning the GT3 Season 4 Championship is slipping away. He's only got half an hour left in the race to try and fix that mistake. Fix his pace, but I'm not sure he will. It is looking more and more unlikely with every second that goes by. And for Pinell, though, it is looking good. Pinell up in P11, and he is still happy with where he is behind Manchip in P1 for his class. He's only got Jackson and Taylor behind him before Curtis in P2 for the AM class can get by, and that's again another 26 seconds up the road. So yeah, it's looking pretty good for Pinell, and Lavagnos has just managed to close the gap to Jordan. Lavagnos wants that podium, man. Lavagnos wants that podium, and he isn't going to stop chasing you for it. Lavagnos looking for his third podium of the season. Yeah, Jordan's got enough. Jordan has got 4 podiums so far. No race win though. That is the only thing that Jordan does not have. No race win for Jordan, and Lavagnos is just chasing his third podium. Pinell invalidates his lap. Now that's the one thing we need to keep an eye out for, because of course an hour and a half of racing means that mistakes can happen, and if you keep making mistakes and more mistakes and more mistakes and more mistakes and more mistakes, you will get track invalidations, and you will eventually get track limit warnings, and then if you get 4 warnings, the 4th one is then the application of a penalty, which is a drive-through, and of course that's not going to be great. None of these drivers like to have a drive-through, as Fox can testify to. In this race, I'm not making a point, in this race he's had a drive-through. We've had a couple drivers with drive-throughs. I can't remember who they. I think it was Redhead with the drive-through. That might have been what broke the camel's back. Jackson as well. That was one name that we also had. One driver that lost positions, that lost track positions. Oh my goodness, and Topinka has lost plenty of ground to Rebecci. He's suddenly lost 1.5 seconds, almost 2 seconds. Let's have a look what's happened to Topinka now. So out of turn 11, into turn 12 now, under braking. All of the track. Oh, a save on the curb of turn 12. So Topinka going slightly sideways as he hits the curb, and Rebecci catches right back up. And will he have the slipstream? I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, Jackson, we've heard the name a couple times tonight, and Jackson is up behind Pinnell, so he's waiting for his opportunity to get past. 2.4 seconds between them, so it's a pro on an AM driver, and really you don't want to see any contact between them. Pinnell in particular will be trying to keep this as clean as is humanly possible. If he makes a mistake now, oh, just like that, maybe onto the curb slightly, but because if he makes a mistake now and crashes and dies, oh, Jackson opting to go the long way round. A little bit of fighting between these two down in P11. As long as they can respect each other's space, they should be good. 0.2 seconds between Pinnell and Jackson. Jackson in the Ferrari has got the slipstream, but of course that BMW can just pull so much down the main straight. Still 0.3 seconds between them. There's only half a second or so between Rebecci and Topinka too. So there's potential for something there. But I'm looking at some more replays. Let's have a look at what's happened definitely a couple minutes ago. It's like almost an hour and a quarter ago between Marcy and I believe, between Marcy and Jackson. We might want to hold on to that thought because Jackson is only 0.3 seconds off Pinnell now for the AM class. But he has gone wide. Okay, let's have a quick look at the replay real quick. Boom, down into their past. Here we go. There's Jackson. Marcy there. Oi, yay! So Jackson just wasn't expecting Marcy to brake that heavily. And out into the main straight, 0.4 seconds between Rebecci and Topinka. So could there be an opportunity here for an overtake at some point? Curtis is only 0.2 seconds off Taylor as well. It's a late race. There's some action between the classes going on, as well as in the pro class. So we need to keep an eye on this. Here's Curtis, also 0.1 seconds off Taylor. He's got the speed. Now down the inside into turn 1. Taylor tries to defend. He's in the middle of the track. Curtis tries taking as much of the track that is available as possible, and he does have enough to get that move done. So that is Curtis up into P13. Interclass racing, still an awesome thing to watch. Okay, let's see. This was an incident between Limburgs and Curtis. 8.5 minutes after the entire session has started. Let's have a quick look at this. So into turn 2, there's Limburgs, there's Curtis, and on the exit, oh, so that was where we saw Curtis go flying across the gravel and Limburgs look a bit guilty. So that's where that happened, right at the start of the race, and we might actually have time to go through all the replays. That's lovely. 25 minutes remaining in the race, and we do have some close gaps between Jackson and Pinnell down in P11. We've got Lavanius and Jordan. Oh my goodness, and there's Christoph getting in the way of Taylor just behind. Is there contact between the two? Car 197 No, there isn't. So fortunately, Taylor can just get out of the way. But that looked a bit scary between the two. Okay, let's go back in time yet again. This is now contact between Malott and Rucroft. So here we go, Malott now down the inside of Rucroft. I think this is the incident we saw a bit earlier. Under braking, yeah, and he just nudges him as he goes past. And yeah, Rucroft basically broke. Well, I mean, to be fair, John Malott broke his own ankles. Oh, and some interesting lines being taken by the two racers up at the top into turn 8, that dive bomb corner of Martinez. And it was only 0.2 seconds between them in the second sector. So as they head into the third one now, yeah, this gap is staying very close to Pinker, unable to go mistake-free tonight. Could this be Rebecci's one opportunity, his second race win of the season? Could this be his opportunity to finally beat Topinka on fair ground and hold that position? Oh my goodness, and someone just got a penalty, a drive-through for Fox down on P19. Ah, man, it always seems to compound, it always seems to snowball until it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, and you're stuck with an endless loop of drive-throughs. Ah, man, I feel for you, Foxy. 0.4 seconds between Rebecci and Topinka. Still 20 minutes left in the race. It is looking a bit juicy at times, so we'll have to keep an eye on this battle, but we of course have plenty more replays to look at. Seconds between these two as they head through turn 8 now into the kink of turn 10 and then 11. Still 0.3 between them, but it seems like something's going to happen soon. I feel like there's going to be a snap between these two soon. 0.2 seconds between Topinka and Rebecci. Maybe into turn 12. No, they keep it clean through there. But feeling Topinka might be trying to take it just that ever. The difference is barely notable between going off. Oh my goodness, here we go. It's all kicking off. 0.1 seconds. Here is Rebecci. 0.1 seconds of Topinka. He's going alongside. He's not using the slipstream at all. And oh my goodness, no, that's not going to work. Topinka trying to go as wide a line as he can, and Rebecci was making Topinka think he was going to dive for the inside, and Topinka has just gone wide. Could this actually be a strategy of Rebecci to try and force Topinka into track limit violations? Maybe make him overthink, maybe make him lose it on the entry, but to keep the momentum going, go wide. I don't know, I overthink things, so I don't know, could be, could not be. I might be just too, I might be a conspiracy theorist. I don't know, I don't generally do conspiracy unless I'm doing commentary here for the commentary curse, which of course has been alive and well in recent days. There's only a 0.3 seconds gap between Jordan and Lavagnos for the final podium position. P3 at stake for Jordan. Looks like Jackson is right up behind Pennell as well, heading into turn 11. And, oh, just making the corner. Both of them going wide. But we are still back up there between Rebecci and Topinka. Okay, let's dive into another replay real quick. We have another one between Malott and Christoph. We have another collision after this one as well. Let's see what happens here. Okay, Malott in the Honda behind Christoph in the Ferrari ahead under braking. Oh my goodness! And I guess just wasn't expecting that. Oh, that was the incident we saw earlier. That was the incident we saw between Malott and Christoph. It just looked like he braked really hard and just slowed down so quickly. Malott was carrying a lot of speed into that corner and he just wasn't expecting it. And Jackson is once again 0.2 seconds off of Pennell, and you can see the race leaders in the background. And there's Pennell going wide. We just see Jackson trying to squeeze his way past through turn 11. Now down into turn 12. Who's going to back out here? Because neither of them can fit. Neither back out though, as Pennell goes to the curve at turn 12. And here is Jackson now round the outside into turn 14. He's putting Pennell under pressure, and Pennell must be getting slightly worried with the amount of pressure Jackson is applying. And now on the main straight, Jackson has got the slipstream. And you can see Pennell trying to make it as difficult for him as possible, but here is Jackson allowing the two race leaders through. Oh, and here is Pennell. It's a slow exit from him, and here's Jackson now around the outside into turn 2. And that is Jackson pretty much clear as they head into the left-hander, but he's left a hole big enough for Pennell to slip into, a hole big enough for a BMW to fit in. And he's just left that gap still into turn 4, and that is Jackson then finally ahead of Pennell. What? I don't know, that seemed like quite a masterful overtake. It seemed like there was a bit of method to the madness, if you will. Method to the madness. Method to the madness for Mark Jackson. So, yeah, I think he might have dropped back because he then knew that Pennell had to drop back, and the best place to drop back is, of course, on a straight, because there you can regulate your speed really well. So who knows? Maybe that was a strategy. 17 minutes of racing left, and Lavagna is right up behind Jordan. We just saw them almost collide as they head now into turn 11. So there is still a fight here for P3 at stake as well. The gap between Topinka and Rebecci has opened up to 1.6 seconds now. So that's opened up slightly, the gap there. And every time I see them bounce over that curb, I think, oh no, something's gone wrong. Oh no, it's just part of the racing line. To be honest, I haven't actually raced at Valencia yet, so I don't know. I don't know. I've only commentated a race for this though, so you pick up on some of the corners that are great to overtake on purely from them. We have another collision. Oh no, that's just going to be the same thing. Sorry, it's that same collision we had between Malott and Christoph, and it's great to see Fox still going at it, even though he's dead last and he's had all these collisions. He's still going strong. Here's a collision between Fox and car number 12, which is going to be Alfred. Here we go. There's Fox. Curtis behind, Huben ahead, and there we go. Bang! That massive impact. Yeah, I'm not sure. Alfred, that is a very tricky situation. I'm not sure anyone could be blamed for one of those incidents. And Christoph is only 0.4 seconds of Rookroft down the inside now into the kink, the left-hander of turn 3, side by side. Rookroft pushed wide. Here's Christoph going around the outside. Christoph now an overtake of his own up into P17. Brilliant racing here. Is it though? I'm not sure whether that's just a lap apart. I thought I saw a gap between them. I mean, it's great racing from Christoph though, regardless, it was a great overtake. Whether it was lap traffic or not, Christoph was just like, yep, I'm coming past, watch it. And look at that, he's actually gapping Rookroft. So Rookroft really struggling tonight. Christoph on an absolute blast here at Valencia. Again, just keeping an eye on them. 0.4 seconds between Jordan and Lavagna. So you can see it's starting to darken really quite quickly. Every time we fluctuate between the replay and live footage, it goes from dark to light pretty quickly, and you can notice the difference quite a lot. You only do have 15 minutes left in the race, so almost at the end. Here we go, another contact between car 9, who was retired, and Jackson. I suspect that's Redhead and Jackson involved here. Let's have a look. So here we go. Yes, there's Redhead in the background, going down the inside, and boom, takes himself out. And Jackson with a little slide, but he's all okay. Oof, that was scary. That was scary. And it seemed so fast and so violent. Yeah, it was scary. Turn 13 again. Sorry, it's just the bumps. They just keep getting me. I'm not sure whether you can tell from the bounce whether it was a good run or not. I'm not sure. I don't know. But the BMW has an extraordinary pulling strength down the main straight. It's got some great straight line speed. So, yeah, I suspect there isn't much going on there. Christoph going slow through turn 5 again. There is only 0.2 seconds between Lavagnos and Jordan. Jordan and the BMW ahead, Lavagnos in the McLaren behind. Lavagnos wants that final podium position badly, but he needs only be patient. If he piles on the pressure, if he piles on enough pressure for the last 13 minutes of the race, Jordan might just do the job for Lavagnos and get out of his way, maybe in spectacular fashion, maybe not. Or he just makes a mistake that allows Lavagnos alongside, and then, you know, who knows what could happen. We do have a little more time for a replay. We've got one between Topinka and car 127. This might be an incident where Topinka lost time to Rebecci behind. Car 127 is not in at the moment. Let's see what happened here. Topinka coming out. Oh, it was Pirinen. Is it potentially Pirinen? Down into turn 1. No, there is no... Oh, it says possible contact anyway, so you can almost never trust the software when it comes to possible contact, unfortunately. Oh, we do have some between Malott and car 28. Let's have a look at this again. What did I say again? Go back in time again, I guess. So there we go. There's Malott. I guess it's Tyler. Oh my goodness gracious! Oi, ay, 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 ay. I think that's what put Malott into the pits. That must be worth about 5 days worth of repair. Oi, ay, ay. Oh, yeesh. I kind of want to have a look at that again, but from Tyler's perspective. But unfortunately, Tyler has retired from the session. We might just be able to get a different view. Let's have a look at it from the outside. The drone following him, and his indicator's still on, so it probably smashed the Malott's indicator into the other world. The device connecting the on switch and the off switch. It was on, got smashed, and yeah, it's stuck on permanently now. I don't know, it's just a weird conspiracy theory. Let's have a look at this from Malott's perspective again. So this is following him, indicating right, as all good drivers should do, through the right-hander. Oh, and he just has no time to react. And Tyler straight onto the racing line. Ay, ay, ay. Here's some traffic. Fox being overtaken by the race leaders now. Needs to get out at some point. Rebecci will obviously be getting impatient behind the BMW. Oh my goodness, there's contact there, I think, as Foxy piles on the brakes towards the end. Yes, there is contact between them, just a little nudge. Final 10 minutes of the race, and the tension is building, the excitement is building as these drivers come round the circuit for the last 10 minutes of the championship. Can you believe it? We've had 8 rounds of racing, 8 weeks of continuous racing about to culminate in the final couple 10 minutes, and we have got some new champions to declare, and for the first time ever, an old one. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the great announcement at the end. Looking forward to it. Let's see whether Pennell can keep his cool as well. He's currently down in P12, 21 seconds ahead of Curtis, and Roocroft is struggling. Roocroft is really, really struggling. Ozduru is only 0.3 seconds off of Taylor. Taylor in P2 struggling to keep pace, and he's only 0.2 seconds ahead of Osduru now. Maybe old tyres are the reason. It is starting to get cooler now, so maybe, I don't know, he just used the old tyres, and the amount of degradation in the first 3/4 of the race or so was too great, and now he's starting to pay the price. Maybe. And we do have some support for Lavagnos in the live chat, and the only reason I can check that now, as opposed to other races, is because it is quite quiet. So we do have some support for Lavagnos. And Lavagnos' gap is 1.3 seconds off of Jordan, so it's not quite gone, but it's not quite close enough for an overtake within the next couple of laps. I mean, we've seen Lavagnos close the gap to Jordan. It's almost within a second now. So there is potential there. It's all down to whether Jordan can keep handling that same pressure, and Osduru going slightly sideways as he heads into turn 3. Let's have a look at some more replays. We've got Lundbergs and Manchip coming together 27 minutes into the race. Let's have a look at what happened here. So through the kink. Oh, this was that incident. Just absolutely flies down the inside and takes out both himself and Manchip. Cool. Any more replays? 0.7 seconds between Dutton and Manchip, coincidentally, as we follow Manchip around the track. Yes, we do have more contact. We have Jackson and Marcy coming together yet again. Let's have a look at what happened here. 32 minutes into the race. Let's go back in time, an hour or so. Through the left-hander. I suspect it was... Oh no, it was that massive contact. I'm still really confused as to who's at fault there, because it looks as though Marcy's right up on the white line. You know, any more to the right and he would have been off the racing, he would have been off the track. So I think potentially that was Jackson at fault there. But it was Marcy coming back onto the track. He was wide to start with, so I'm not sure. It's going to be up to the stewards at this point, as it always should be. Okay, we have possible contact. No, we're not going to bother with that. We have Osduru and Christoph coming together at some point. An hour and 6 minutes into the session. Let's have a look at this. So Christoph in the blue Ferrari. And, oh, just doesn't see him. Fortunately, no massive contact there. But it was just enough to say, hey, watch it. That was quite interesting to watch. Half a second now between Topinka and Rebecci for the race lead. We need to keep an eye on that as well. Half a second between Manchip and Dutton. Also for P9 overall. Multi-class racing, of course, means not really too much difference there. Just a little more security for Manchip from Taylor. Considering Taylor is a good 45 seconds behind, there's not really too much there. There's not really too much to worry about. We'll probably still go for it though. You know, we saw Manchip and Osduru have a good laugh at the Red Bull ring, absolutely sending it on each other through the corners. There's nothing going on, and they were the only guys out ahead, the two race leaders, and they had a lot at stake, and they still just went for it. They still just fought. And here is woo! That was close, and Dutton just also stays out of the way. Oh my goodness, I need to watch that again. That was nuts. Let's watch that from Rebecca's perspective. No, we can't. Sorry, software guy. Turn it back. 0.1 seconds between Rebecca and Topinka. Oh my goodness, so glad we got that again. Here we go, down the inside. Topinka still on the outside line. Rebecca having a go at it. Oh my goodness, it's tight, and Rebecca stays online, and Topinka goes wide yet again into turn 2. Rebecca had a look there. He had a look. Woo! Tense moments now. 4 minutes remaining in the race. We are getting there. The excitement is building. There is Rebecci, virtually down the inside of Topinka. He's just had enough space. I'm sure they touched there. There was a little bit of contact. Now down into the left-hander, and they just squeezed by. There's Rebecci going through the left-hander, and Rebecci takes the race lead. Brilliant overtake, forcing his way past into turn 6, and it has finally happened. Rebecci up into the race lead, past Topinka. Topinka has been leading for an hour and 27 minutes, and now finally Rebecci, after working so hard, can finally reap the seeds he has sown. Now it's just a question of whether he can stay ahead and whether he'll get a penalty or not, because last time he got ahead of Topinka, he got a 30-second penalty anyways, and there is a collision between them. So, oh, there we go, full send from Topinka down into turn 14. On the exit though, Rebecci's got the inside line. How do their exits compare? Oh my goodness, fighting here for the race lead on the final 3 minutes of the lap. And Rebecci is fighting for his second race win of the season. Topinka fighting for yet another one down the inside, and Rebecci goes around the outside. Here's Topinka making a send. They're both just keeping it within track limits, and Rebecci loses that position. Topinka back up into the race lead. Some brilliant battling here for the race lead. 2.5 minutes of racing left. I think it's only going to be one more lap after this, so it is last lap vibes. 2 laps to go essentially, 1.5 in these guys' case. They are about halfway around the track, again into turn 6, but this time Rebecci pulls out. This time Rebecci has to pull back from Topinka. Oh, getting really close there to the rear of Topinka, but just stays back, and it's half a second now between them. Will he manage to close that gap again, and will he manage to get ahead of Topinka through sector 2, as he has done just a couple laps ago, to take the race win? That is a question we're all waiting for. And just looking at Lavagnos again, remembering Lavagnos only under a second of Jordan. So there's that to keep in mind as well. But here we go. Drivers coming across the line now. And it's not quite there yet. It's not quite last lap yet. But Rebecci's gone absolutely massively wide through turn 1. But it's I assume it's because he can afford it. You know, just keep that speed up. So whether he gets track limit violations now or not, he's got a little bit of leeway, I think. Last couple replays, we've now got 0.8 seconds between these guys. Let's have a look. Car 17 and 27, Rucroft and Hosco coming together at some point. Let's have a look at what happened here. So here's Rucroft. And there's Hosco going wide. Hosco comes back in. Oh, yeah, he's spun around by Rucroft, trying to get back onto the circuit, and Rucroft is there. And there we go. Final lap has been announced. And, yeah, half a second between Rebecci and Topinka. Topinka seems to be almost solid where he is at the moment. There is no opportunity for Rebecci to come past. Only 2 corners to go until the end of the Season 4 GT3 Championship. And for the first time in HSR Motorsport history, we have a 2-time GT3 champion. Topinka wins the GT3 Season 4 Championship. He started off the season with familiar dominance, and despite the late season efforts of his rivals, both old and new, takes his 2nd championship victory. Wow, what an accomplishment. And now the rest of the grid comes past. Manchip has also come across, and Manchip is now a GT3 champion. In his first season as a Pro-Am, he has utterly dominated the field, and for the first time ever, Manchip is a GT3 champion. Manchip wins the Pro-Am Season 4 Championship. And as Pernell comes across, he is also doing donuts because he is also a GT3 champion with 0 points heading into the final race between Rucroft and Pernell. It is Rucroft who does not manage to make the line first. Pernell wins the Season 4 Championship in the AM class. What a performance from him today. I'm sure there will be celebrations all night tonight for these three drivers. Topinka, Manship and Pernell, your new GT3 champions. That is the end of Season 4. Wow, what a championship it has been. We've had some old faces, we've had some new faces, we've had some old podium finishers and race winners, and we've had some new podium finishers and race winners. What a mix of a season, what a roller coaster. We have two new GT3 champions, and for the first time in HSR Motorsport history, a two-time champion. Tonight will be a night to remember for sure. And now we have 2 weeks to just reset. We've got 2 weeks until Season 5 starts on the 8th of November. The times will probably change slightly because our clocks are going back. They're going back. There we go, just got confirmation. They're going back 1 hour. So it's back to GMT time, not BST. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the times are like. We'll have to see from wherever you're watching around the world. If you want to know the info, definitely join the Discord server. That's where all the info is at. But yeah, that is the end of Season 4. So join us in 2 weeks for the start of Season 5. Hopefully we'll see you all there. Good night.